Because I'm not afraid of a challenge, like that time I out-farted Michael Moore. Hi there.
How you doing?
No. We
Three.
need to go. You go. All right.
This is like me with the clap.
Yeah.
You were bad at it though. It was like 3, 2, 1.
This is the first time I did it wrong on accident, and then the rest of the times I just did it because it was funny.
Just like, are you freaking kidding me? Come on, son.
Philly D.
Gotta know what you're
Want to
doing.
give me
dog.
another count?
What?
Want to give me another count?
Yeah.
Dracula. Chocula.
5, 4.
Hey, folks, welcome back to another episode of the Pop Culture Punks podcast. I'm not used to this.
Way to go.
No, I'm used to the whole, are we recording right now?
Let's talk about horses.
Are we recording?
And here we
There you
go.
go.
And here
We started.
5, 4.
We counted down already.
Here it is.
Hey, everyone, welcome back to another episode of the Pop Culture Punks podcast, where we bring pop culture to the pit. If you want to partake in the pit, you can send us an email at popculturepunks@gmail.com.
But we won't hurt you.
No, we will.
Maybe your feelings.
So, here's the thing. Country clubs don't have a lot of
So we're just
bathrooms.
kicking off. I
Yeah.
like it. I like this.
Um,
I like it.
so,
Let me. Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Let me set the scene for y'all. We at this wedding.
can I just preface this by
Yes.
saying I'm incredely hot right now?
It is really toasty. We're
It
gonna
was
get
a
real
repeat
sweaty.
from last week.
We're gonna get real randy.
No.
I feel like
We got to stop repeating our jokes 50 times.
No, but I
over
feel
for
like
the
what's
show.
funny is now in the context of the show, Randy has come to mean sweaty versus like
Versus, yeah.
excited,
Aroused.
Yeah.
and so we're like, I'm Randy. Oh no, I'm sweaty.
I'm so randy, baby.
So here's the thing.
Yeah, country
So
clubs.
here's the story. We're at this country club for
Very nice country
because our
Very
parents
nice.
own
Swanky.
this fancy country club.
Yeah.
No, they don't. I was laughing at how like posh this place was. We were at a friend's wedding, and it was pretty cool. And they had this country club. It had the whole
dope.
like golf thing and like a pool, and the pool had like one of those basketball hoops. It's a nice country club. There's only one men's bathroom where the dance and the wedding is taking place. One men's bathroom with a total of 2 urinals
And one stall.
and one singular freaking stall.
In a very small space.
Correct.
mind you.
And we were eating cheese curds, mind you.
Correct.
And the bathroom door was right next to the dance floor, mind you.
Yeah, I had to go to the bathroom the whole time during that dance, and I was like, "Do I go in?" And then just
and yes, and that was the best part is the bathroom is literally right there. Like it's like dance floor, bathroom.
bathroom.
Bathroom door.
So like if everything went silent, you could probably hear something.
Oops,
going
the
on.
CD just skipped.
Just, it's just like, oh, sorry, that was
Something
a
wrong-
bad. That was a
Something's
bad
wrong with the
mix.
equipment.
She's like, ooh, something's real wrong with the equipment. But yeah, so I was dumbfounded. Like we looked around this whole stupid place because
You were peeved.
I was legit. Okay, here's why.
Usually
Here's
you
why.
don't get that peeved.
I'm
but
gonna
you
get
were
really.
peeved.
I'm gonna get really personal.
Really?
I'm gonna get really personal.
I mean, like personally peeved.
I was personally peeved. I'm gonna. This is
My
me.
bladder has every right to have a big bathroom with multiple stalls.
I'm entitled. Me and my white privilege. I just want multiple stalls in all my bathrooms.
No, you got to just take what you get.
It's true. Here's the thing. Legitimately, I do have doctoral diagnosed intestinal issues. So for me, if I'm having a bad day,
Ironically, it's irritable bowel syndrome.
it is. And so I'm having
because he's irritable.
Because I'm irritable.
I'm irritable and my bowels are flowing.
My bowels are along with the
My bowels know how I feel. Angry.
Just open up the stall, rip the person out like my bowels are calling me home.
So legit,
gosh.
I legitimately have had okay, this is kind of a funny story. So there's one time when I was in Celery and the dorm, and Jake and I were badger buddies. We had to do badger buddy training. I don't know what happened if I ate something the night before, but I literally broke out in a cold sweat and almost passed out in the stall.
Just imagine you sitting like.
No, I'm not kidding.
Like one bead of sweat's coming
like
down.
the pain was so unbearable, I almost went unconscious.
Oh my God.
my
gosh.
vision was going white. Like I'm not kidding. So
I'm glad this didn't happen last night.
So exactly. So pulling this into the context though, I am in a country club where there is alcohol, cheese curds, what's that, bruschetta, steak, chicken, like I am in a bad environment that if something goes wrong, something is undercooked, something does not sit well with me, I am at the mercy of the reception.
And the singular stall.
Or
the urinal if it's
and
really
so
desperate.
if like, dude, like I was literally in panic mode.
Metamucil.
I was in
Let
panic
flow.
mode of like, what do I do if I have to go
Duty
and that
balls.
stall is full? Like, do I like run out? Do I just drop a deuce on the lawn? Like, do I just go
No.
like,
Freaking like Happy Gilmore.
do
or
I just
whatever.
go Happy
Yeah.
Gilmore and just drop a turd on the green? Like, what do I, like, how do I handle this? And so I just was dumbfounded that one, they only had one stall, which does not account for any sort of really bad situation happen. Two, it's a country club. You got these rich people,
Dude, they're too fancy to poop.
walking around here.
See, Evan's theory was that like at one point in time, historically, it was probably just an all men country club or something. So the women's bathroom used to be a man's bathroom, so there was double the toilets. But then they had to become inclusive, so then there was like. So it's inclusivity's fault that you only had
the
one
men's
toilet.
bathroom. They were like, we'll make that one the women's bathroom. It's like it has urinals. Like
That'll be fine.
it's like they'll figure it out. It's like
It was
Before
a
everything
pretty bad
became
situation.
progressive. It
Because
was.
I remember there was one moment where I went in the stall, and like, I'm very shy pooper. I'll admit that on the podcast.
we're getting real.
Spooper.
This is real. Poop talk is real. People
Yeah.
don't
The
people
poop
don't
talk,
know it.
yeah.
The bathroom is just such a weird, interesting
sacred
domain.
space.
It is.
It
It
is.
is a what do
It
you call it?
is.
A third space, like sociology. My friend was talking about this because like coffee shops are like a third social space of like intersectionality between multiple communities because it's just like
That sounds intense.
That's the bathroom.
That's the
Intersectionality.
bathroom. That's like what happens though. And I was sitting in the stall and like I was like, all right, I'm just gonna wait for everyone to get out. And then all of a sudden I just hear, hey, Bill, fun dance out there. Oh, yeah, you know it. And then, hey, what are you guys talking about? Oh, there's the dance out there. Oh, and then like two other guys, bro, I had too much to drink. Literally, like, I think I heard like 5 or 6 people in there. And I'm just like sequestered in the stall, like, just please.
See, now what if
I
at
wanna
that
get-
moment I had to drop a mad poo?
I would've been like,
what
Josh,
happened?
just
See,
wait,
in that moment,
what
you
happened?
embrace the humor of the situation and just let it flow.
I just
Yeah.
where like
no, I'm saying if you're already in the stall.
oh if
Yeah.
I'm in the
If
stall,
If you're in
I
the
just-
stall, just let it flow.
That's what I did. I waited for people to laugh really loud.
just like
They're like, did somebody just laugh?
yeah.
just like
Do you know
just let out like a blood curdling scream. And
Do you know what I wanted? I was really.
it's like the bass is dropping outside. Bass drop.
It's like,
Oh,
That was a
gosh.
great. I was really tempted to do this. One of my favorite Filthy Frank clips is like he's just like filming himself selfie style in a bathroom. It's like it's just his head in his shirt, so like you don't see anything. But he's just like sitting in a stall. He like points to the feet that are next to him, but then he points the camera to him. He's like, "I have a story to tell you." Back when I was in middle school and I was too nervous, and like he just shares this stupid, awkward story of like just this pointless story of a middle school dance in the bathroom. And I was so tempted to just be like, I have a story to tell you all. Once upon a time, there's a little boy. But yeah, like when you have a situation like that, I do agree. It's uncomfortable and it's a little scary and intimidating.
yeah.
So
Had
some
me
people
panicked.
can handle themselves well,
Had me
but
panicked.
yeah.
No, I was like, I'm at the mercy of my intestines. Like, if something goes down, I'm screwed. I'm
Yeah.
done. I'm done. My life is over.
luckily, you
Nothing happened.
Nothing happened.
I also was nervous because if Madison area folks know the legendary Mickey's Dairy Bar, we went there for breakfast that morning, and I got a scrambler.
You didn't set yourself up well.
I didn't. This was
No.
not. I was,
But how
and that
could
was
you
the
know?
thing.
How
Is
could
like
you
that
know?
morning,
Yeah.
I was like, we were like, oh, what are you gonna get for breakfast? I was like, if I get pancakes, I'm gonna be ruined because all those carbs, that's gonna be bad. I could get a scrambler, it's gonna have a lot of protein, but sometimes eggs are kind of a crap shoot. In terms of how those get handled. And so I was like, well, let's go scrambler. So I went with the scrambler, which if you ever go to Mickey's Dairy Bar in Madison, the scrambler is like enough food for a family. And it's like one meal, and it's like $7. It's stupid good.
There are some people that can destroy it though. My friend Sawyer, can knock out a whole scrambler in one sitting.
That's impressive.
Yeah, and
I
he's
don't
like
know.
a lean dude.
Yeah.
So
that's impressive.
I wish I could be that.
So, but anyway, so then I go in from that morning of like getting a scrambler and all this stuff, and then I like walk into this $1 million country club and the freaking men's bathroom.
and you're like,
is
what
one
if I'm
stall.
going
And
to?
I'm like,
I'm going to destroy their bathroom.
I'm like, this may be the end of my life today. Like my life may
Just
end.
imagine you like writhing on the dance
socially.
floor, like
No, I imagine like paramedics come and we just find you like butt face down, butt up, like passed out in the stall.
Does anybody know this man? Can we get an identification
can we get some help
on
in
this
here?
man? The entire party goes into the bathroom like, oh yeah, we know him.
Josh.
Oh, hey, that's
Hey, it's
Coach.
Josh.
What
It's
up,
Coach. Hey, Coach.
What up, Coach? They're like, did he have any? It's like, no, he just crapped himself.
Yeah, he had to
And
wait.
passed out
He
from
had to
doing
wait
so.
too long.
I'm just picturing now, like, and then what if like there was like a brown note that got played in one of the songs? It's just like
Brown note.
turned down for what? It's just like, oh, I'm turning down for my feet.
Oh, that's great.
Oh, jeez.
What a way to start our.
Yeah.
and we talked about having an organized start, but we
That
did.
was
It was organized.
that was on
We
the
started
notes.
organized.
That was on
Yeah.
the notes. Yeah.
Speaking of cleaning out your bowels, how was the salad last night?
It was great because I did not have one,
Yep.
and I took a
Neither
stand.
did I.
It
Neither
was
did I.
hilarious. We legitimately convinced
salad.
our whole table that salads were the worst thing
Yep.
at a fancy dinner.
And
It
then I
was
also
fantastic.
convinced them that it's a good idea to print meat with a 3D.
3D print
I had
meat.
everybody on board, I think,
with a
that.
meat, and we're gonna make a meat salad a marketable product.
Yep.
And everyone loved it. Everyone
TM.
was.
That's copyrighted.
We even
Yeah.
had one of our friends our friend Evan, who's economic
real
savvy,
things,
and he's
yeah.
like actual head of a
Engineer.
business. Yeah, engineer, has his own business. Was like interesting. So
Hopefully he wasn't offended that I was like making fun of his thing by co-opting it with my meat printer.
No, he was cracking up because he was like, well, if you do this, he's like, I could actually do this for you, and then you do this.
And then you
blah,
guys
blah,
could be
blah.
the writers. I'm like, wait, did you
And
just
then he's
take
like,
my
"Did
idea
you
and
just-"
make me the writer?
He's like, did you just buy me out and then make me the? And he's like, yep, that's how it goes. And I was like,
I was like,
genius.
80%,
I was like,
buddy.
absolutely genius.
he's truly belongs in the economic world.
That he does.
but yeah, we refused salad on principle, and then convinced everybody else
That
of our
salad
opinion,
was
too.
like the worst.
That they should
thing
also
you could
refuse
eat.
it on principle.
Correct.
Yep.
But I remember the salads coming around, and I was like, this is my moment. This is my moment to take a stand. Ma'am, I will not have a salad.
She was
Me
like,
neither.
Yeah,
And I
it
was like,
felt. I felt empowered.
I did.
Yeah.
even though
This
the
is
lady was
amazing.
just
She
like,
like
okay,
came to me
she
and was
was
like,
"All right."
I'll pass.
kept moving.
I was like, I will as well.
Yeah, it wasn't even a thing. It was just like, I'll pass. And then in your mind, you're like, I have conquered. the stereotype of eating salad at a party.
We're not gonna take it. That was all that was playing in my head. So, yeah. So we lived by
Yeah,
we
we
lived
lived by the
our word.
principles.
We lived on principle.
That was a fun party.
Good times. That
Yeah, it
was.
was.
Graham, Bridget,
was.
all the best to you
Congrats.
two.
That was a lot of fun.
Yep.
Yeah.
It was bumping.
This is bonkers. That
It
dance
was.
nuts. Bucky, what the heck?
Friggin'
I've
Bucky
never
showed
seen
up.
Bucky at a wedding dance. That's nuts.
Yeah, UW Madison students or UW Madison people are familiar with, or people in general, just like with sports wise. The mascot Bucky just kind of showed up at our friend's wedding and was on the dance floor.
And we went.
We jumped
went
around.
we
hard.
jumped around
We
with
like
Bucky.
straight up jumped around with Bucky.
yeah.
And it was nuts. And I have an amazing video where it's Carter and he's like bobbing and like Bucky is like right behind him, just like staring into my phone. It's just like it's an amazing shot. It's pretty
That was a
great.
blast.
Yes, sir.
And then the photo booth with my creepy
Dude,
mask.
That was pretty great.
you okay?
Little Phantom of the Opera.
What was I don't think I showed Zach this photo, but I'm gonna pull it up. It was
So when he put his glasses on?
no, when he had his ponytail, when he had like ponytailed his hair. I was like, you look like the dude from the Mighty Ducks cartoon.
Oh no.
And
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Do you have like a side by side
gonna-
comparison?
No, but
let me
I
find it.
should have here. Mighty, and his name is Phil in the show.
No.
It's like Phil
hold on.
Slamburger or
Phil
something like
Palmfeather.
that. There you go.
His name is literally Phil Palmfeather. And this is so good. This is gonna be our title. It's like
I'll take it.
that's going on Twitter. Like that is just like one of the
Do you have a picture of
funniest-
me with my ponytail to put it
I
side by
I
side?
think I do actually. I think one
I
of
wish
the
we would've
photos I
thought of
took
that.
with you dancing with Bucky.
That's
Oh, yeah.
amazing.
Oh no, you can't really see it.
Oh my gosh.
That sucks.
That's incredible.
To be honest, like I saw, like Evan just put it in my hair as a joke. I was like, I guess you could put a ponytail in my hair. But then I like saw what it looked like, and I was like, that's not like if I had to choose between the ponytail and just the long hair hanging down.
Yeah, the
I'd
ponytail
choose
is not
the
bad.
ponytail.
Yeah.
I was more laughing at you had the whole outfit like you looked like a sleazy car salesman.
Yeah, and
Like,
that's what
just,
Evan
like,
said too. He's
I
like,
was-
I'm tempted to buy into your idea just because you kind of look like the guy who would sell me something.
Like a
I was
greasy
like-
salesman, yeah.
Yeah, it was.
I even
was
had
saying-
like the white undershirt with like my shirt unbuttoned a little bit
Yep,
too far
yep.
down.
Got a
I
little
kind of
bit of
wished I had like a wife beater
some
on, so
sweat
my-
stains from the
my
heat.
chest
Excuse
hair is
me,
just
sir.
sticking out. Like,
Do you need a used
you
car?
need a car?
What was I saying? You'd sell like imported Pokemon cards of all
Yeah.
things in your van. Hey kids,
Like,
want-
hey kids.
Wants Pokemon cards? I'll give you 5 for 10. No, you know what? You look like a slick kid. I'll give you 5 for
Slick
5. So it was a good time.
Kid.
You look like a slick kid. My dad says not to talk to strangers.
what is it?
My dad
My
says
dad
not
said not
My
my
dad.
dad says not Daddy DeVito.
Yes. Dude, Danny DeVito voice acting a small child in a cartoon would be amazing.
Danny DeVito
Yeah.
voice acting Pikachu in that Detective Pikachu game would have been fantastic.
I would have bought the game for that.
my gosh, yes.
There's
Whoa.
there's footprints leading out to the hallway. We gotta go.
Shut up, Dennis.
Dennis. Oh my gosh.
Oh my god!
So what have you guys
What a
been up
day.
to recently?
Saw
Are we
the
good? Give a little recap.
Attack on Titan movie,
We did.
which we discussed a little bit.
Yeah.
I heard it was
Such a disappointment.
The movie
I expected
was.
that.
The movie
Season
was.
3 was fantastic.
Oh my gosh.
season 3 premiere.
Season 3 premiere.
I knew that was coming as a knowledgeable anime fan. As soon as you said it's like I think it's like a recap of season 2. I was like,
You're like,
nah.
yeah, I was a little bit hopeful going into it, but as soon as it started playing, I was like, what is happening? Like, I could remember like where the snippets were coming from, but it was just like so disjointed and everything
Yeah.
was moving. It's not. I would say like my big takeaway is anybody who hasn't watched Attack on Titan before and is going into
Do
it
not watch
hoping,
like a rehash
like,
movie.
it will ruin the show for you. You'll
Yeah,
think the show
absolutely.
is trash.
Yeah.
Like if that's your only experience, they'll think
Yep.
the show is trash.
Yeah, because it's just
Yeah.
not.
It was bad.
Just
not
rehash. Yeah. I think there are some movies that have done it well, but I knew I told Josh and Phil this like a brief. It was a forewarning. It was a foreshadowing that most anime movies that are recaps of shows tend to be watered down versions, just because it's like they look nicer and they look better, but they don't have as much of the same depth as the anime show does
Yeah.
because anime has more time. Serialized anime does. Best example is like Gurren Lagann is my all-time favorite anime. The animation for the movie is top notch. Like it looks obviously like the movie looks better than the anime because they had more of a budget for it because it's 3 films. But talking with a friend of mine who watched them all the way through, he said the story just does not have the same. They added some elements that just weren't as cool, or like just some aspects of like character development and blah 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 just weren't the same. And that's the reason why I would always just stick with the original anime, because it's like it's just
And
it's just watered down, and
I
that's
feel like this
seems like the
movie-
trend.
didn't seem like it was any different animation wise. I think they just like
Was it just like cuts and
it
snippets
literally
from?
felt like they just like cut parts out of the season
And just,
somewhat,
like, copied and
spliced
pasted it.
yeah,
Yeah.
See, that's even
Like it didn't
worse.
feel like
Because I thought
said
even
before,
I
yeah.
thought even like if it was like a better animated version, because that's what they did with Gurren Lagann. I was
It
like,
was exactly the same.
Yeah.
just
it
If
was
literally
was
spliced.
felt
that-
like a spliced version.
that's rough.
Like, it was so disjointed, and I was like, and anytime like what we were talking before, like I felt like anytime like in the season where they leave kind of things up to you to like decide what happened, they literally just like said it. Like they would have a character explain like, oh, this, and this, and you're like, we're not supposed to like technically know that is true. We're just
Yeah,
supposed to like
exactly.
theorize about what's going to happen.
Right.
It almost like ruins the mystery of the show, because that's like a big part of the show is like getting to like speculate and theorize. Like that's the fun part.
Well, that's what we like about it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and it was really eye opening how much the genius and the experience. I would say the show is like very experiential. Like you get drawn into the pacing and how much stuff takes in terms of setting up and having a payoff. And not that it's like, because I know that can be an excuse in bad writing to be like, oh, well, you just have to wait for the good part. It's more like there's this mystery and you like don't know what it is and there's all this stuff, but then it just was like everything had to like kind of get through it. That it's like there were certain moments that they just like take you off guard because you just have like the whole episode when you find out, spoilers for season 2, you find out about Ymir, but like one of the first clues that you find out is Reiner comes down the stairs and Ymir's like digging through her chest or whatever, and she's like flipping through and she's like, oh, I found some like herring or whatever, like here. And Reiner's like, oh, can I see it? And she's like, yeah, sure, whatever. She like throws it to him and he like looks at it and he's like, what is this? Like, she's like, you can read this? And he's like, Ymir, like, what's the meaning of this? And then immediately stuff kicks off and you kind of like forget about it because then they're in a life or death situation.
Yeah. You were just like, that was weird.
That whole episode like builds up and then all of a sudden there's this moment of like, whoa, like, who is she?
Well,
Like,
and then on top of that, literally, the cliff, because that show is the master of cliffhangers. The cliffhanger, another spoiler. The cliffhanger part of the episode is
Attack on Titan spoilers at about like 20, 21 minutes. I'll put it in the description.
Yeah. Literally, the cliffhanger is that like she just is like, sorry, Krista, sorry, everyone, turns into a Titan. You're like, oh, okay, what?
Well, and did they
Just
show
thrown
Reiner's
totally-
flashback in the show? Or did they add that
I don't think
in?
they did yet. They did that later on in Yumi's episode.
Okay, because that was something also that they did. In that moment in the movie, they had Reiner's flashback where he sees their friend get eaten by her back in the day. He sees that clip then at that moment. But I don't think that happened in the show.
That was the one part I did remember happening in the show, so maybe I'm remembering.
It does happen
wrong.
in the show, but I don't think, like, timeline-wise, I think from what Zach is saying, and if I remember correctly too, they put it earlier in the movie. And originally,
that
I'm not following the
flashback,
movie. I don't even know where.
Because in the movie, she turns into the
she cuts her hand,
Titan,
jumps off the wall.
and as soon as he sees what she looks like, then it like flashes back, and he's like, "Oh frick, that was her."
See, I don't think that happened in the show,
Right.
Because I think the moment he realizes it's her is when they split off and kidnap Krista, and he's like, "You." He was like I think it was like when they have like a brief resting period and they have Krista and Aaron, or maybe it was just Aaron. Yeah, it was just Aaron. And like they're sitting in the trees and stuff. That's when he was like, "It was you, wasn't it? You were the one that, you know." And then he confronts her about it.
Barinholt asks her, isn't it? But Reiner.
Yeah,
Reiner's the one who has the flashback.
It's
Barinholt's
been
the
a
one
long
that
time.
asks
We could
the-
it'll be kind of hard to just piece all
I
together.
think
We could go on.
the point
and on,
of it
but
is that the movie forced
it just
a lot
stuff
of the
had
narrative.
to get through it.
Yeah,
That just
and
was,
it was
not
just not good.
It just
Yeah,
didn't
yeah.
make it meaningful. And I'm gosh, like, but living through some of the moments again, it was like, oh frick, I forgot that happened.
Yeah.
Like when you find out like Reiner has like basically PTSD and he's
Yeah, I
like
forgot
remembering the
about
whole
that. I
thing
was
with
like,
like
wait,
Marco and like that whole scene is so messed up. And then he's like, wait a second, like why is this Titan, you know, like in this clip, he's like, Reiner, like what are you doing? What are you doing? And then he's like, wait a second, like why is Marco getting eaten by a Titan? Like what's happening? And then it's just like, oh, like geez, this show. It's oh my gosh.
that
I
show's
want to
a
go
ride.
back and
There was
rewatch it
They
again.
added some cheesy lines, I think, to it too. Because
Yeah,
there was
they
one
just-
that me and Chris laughed at. It was like, "I am going to be the one that is going to save the world," or something like that.
Yeah.
Like something that
Who
shows
said
like
that?
that imply, but not necessarily like expose. But he just like I forget. I think it was Aaron. Like he said, "I have to be the one that saves the world," or something like
Yeah,
that. And me and
yeah.
Chris were like, "What the?"
His only line, like the only whenever he gets to a line like that, his only thing is he says, "I'm going to kill all Titans," which is
Yeah.
much more
And
in
it wasn't
tune
even
with
like
what
that.
he wants
It
to.
was like a really weird cheat. And it was.
It
I
was
think it was an example of the
horrid, yeah.
exposition of like. Obviously, we know that Aaron
Is like the
playing
key,
this role
right.
as the key, but they kept saying it so much in the movie, and it was like you're ruining all of the mystery. And
But I think that's what was really interesting is I could see, so if you take this is like a case study, if you take the movie that they did of just kind of condensing everything down, it was an example of like amateurish writing, I would say, Whereas like it's still amazingly written, and it's like something that would make it into a grand scale, but it would feel amateurish or it would feel forced because things happen and they say things and they like you don't have to have any cognitive capacity to like think through things or like listen. They just say like, oh, all these Titans are from Connie's village and all this stuff, and it's like whereas in the show you have to pay attention really closely.
Everything.
But then like when one little thing happens, you're like,
it kind of pieces things together.
Frick.
Yeah.
Like
The pieces fall
thing.
into place,
Yeah.
and you
Yes.
don't. And I think that's where it's like, as much as the movie sucks, and I'm sorry to hear that, it's like I expected that because it's.
I wasn't too surprised
And
about
that's
it.
the thing is
yeah.
like I'm not bummed about it, but I just want people.
It was
to
very
know,
eye
like,
opening. Yeah,
That's not the show.
Don't watch the movie if you want to get the experience. Of
like
Attack on
watch
Titan.
watch the actual show. Like it's
Yeah.
just the payoff is awesome.
Some people left after the movie and didn't even
Yeah.
see season 3.
And there was, I mean,
They didn't make like because even for me, like I couldn't exactly remember how season 2 ended, and so like there were some parts that I didn't remember. I was like, oh, this must be season 3 or whatever. But then it ended, and I was like, wait, that was it.
yeah.
And then I was talking to you, and you're like, no, I'm assuming it comes after. I'm like, oh, and I just saw like a ton of people get up and leave. I'm like, they didn't even know probably.
Yeah.
So I kind of feel bad because there was no like, stay tuned for season 3, episode 1.
Yeah.
It just like rolled the credits, and I'm like, ooh, this is.
We probably should have said this in the beginning. So Phil, Chris, and I went to see I guess it was like a recap movie of Attack on Titan season 2 and the premiere, an early premiere of season 3, episode 1 at Marcus Theaters. So
Yeah.
they had like a special showing, and I was really excited just to get to like watch the show.
It was a fun experience.
It was
Yeah.
awesome. Like if I could watch it like
I kind
that,
of wish I could see season 3 and
I do somewhat regret it in that like I didn't realize how much other people could like ruin stuff like that. Like there was just something where there's like really serious moments, and I mean we've discussed that because of how it was cut and how it was paced, things came off way more cheesy
They
than
made it seem cheesy and comedic.
right, and so
in some
so
way.
people are
Yeah.
laughing and things like that, but gosh, it just bugged the crap out of me when there's really intense moments that I
Yeah.
remember when I was first watching it thinking, oh
Just,
my
like,
gosh, this is it.
jaw-dropping,
Like,
like-
yeah, it's just horrifying.
Yeah.
And then here it's like one
It's
of the
a
big
joke.
seasons at the end. Yeah. You know, it's like Eren is like watching all his friends die. And here he has Hannes who like rescued him and Mikasa in the very beginning of the show.
Spoiler.
Yeah, and I mean I'm just gonna
We
say
already
spoilers through
said
this
so,
whole.
Tag,
I'll,
yeah.
Okay.
I'll put an end bracket, but you know, so you have Hannes who's like about to get eaten by the Titan from the very beginning of the show who killed his mom, and here he is, and you're like, this is a huge moment, like holy crap, like that's the Titan.
he's literally
like, he's out for blood, like
and he's
he
literally
wants to
reliving-
murder that thing.
yeah, he's reliving literally the same experience that he had with his mom. And if you think about it, the intensity is that Eren was sad because he couldn't save his mom when he got eaten by that Titan. Now here's another person that's important in his life
Who saved
getting
his-
eaten by
saved him,
saved
and he's-
him, got eaten by the same Titan, and he has the opportunity to kill
but
him.
he
but
is the
can't.
power in this
Yeah.
exactly
Yeah.
like you're saying, and he has the power in this moment, and so he's like with how they work where they have to bite their hands
Yeah.
or cut themselves
Desperately
or whatever,
trying to-
he's like gnawing his hands off, like trying to transform, and he just like can't do it, and it's like, and people are like laughing at it, and I'm just it just like, it's like, yeah, if that's how you feel, like that's fine, like I can't be mad at that, but it was like, is something like not clicking in your brain that this is like a very
Yeah.
intense
and
moment?
Again,
and
it was the movie because
Yeah.
The way it was set up.
the way it was almost the whole thing was laughable. Like there was a
Yeah.
lot of scenes where I was like,
that was not as impactful as I
yeah,
remember
like what
it
the
being.
heck? Because he like that whole buildup then leads into the fact that he like starts controlling Titans to like beat the crap out of this thing and eat it basically. But then so
It's weird.
Yeah.
But it's fine.
yeah.
But to season 3, holy frick.
No, nothing.
I'm not
I
this
know.
is-
I know. I'm not
that's-
saying that.
that
like,
was the end of the spoilers for season 2. It's about 27, 28 minutes. I'll put the exact times below. So if you don't want to hear anything about Attack on Titan, just skip ahead. But as just a spoiler-free vibe review of season 3, episode 1, it's going to be more inside the wall focused. It's going to be more church conspiracy. But frick.
Yeah, I think we're gonna get a lot of payoff.
Like it just was like,
I think June 20 or July 22nd is
I
the
think
premiere
so. Yeah,
on
is when
Funimation.
it comes out. But
hopefully do it on Crunchyroll too. but
goodness sakes, I just was like nuts.
I am ready.
There was one guy at the end of it who was just like, "That's bull!" Like he was so mad that it.
Oh,
ended.
just because like the cliffhanger.
Yeah, it was like,
Dude, that
It was a
show,
classic
that show's
Attack on Titan
cliffhanger is like.
yeah.
I don't know if I told this story when I was rewatching season 1 with our father who got huge into the show and wanted to try literally rewatching everything before season 3. I forget which episode. It was the episode because like I'd say in the first season, the first episode is one of the best intros to any show. The second, third, and fourth episode are a little slower paced just because it's establishing everything, which can't blame it for that.
Yeah.
I think episode 5 is when they're literally there's hope for humanity, everything's gonna be okay, and then literally the episode ends with like the Colossal Titan appearing, just like Colossal Titan. And I remember it ended, and I looked at my dad was like, all right, let's watch like one more and then call it a day. And then I forgot that was the episode that it ends on, like that moment of the Colossal Titan just like popping out of nowhere again. My dad turns to me with this look, and he's like, play the next one.
Yeah, exactly.
I remember watching because you had the DVDs, I think, and I went to like Black Hawk Study Day, and I literally just sat there and watched all of season 1,
Like once
because I didn't have any homework to do, and you can't stream there because the internet
Right.
was just trash. So I just like sat there and watched all of like season 1.
Oh,
and stuff.
it's so
I just,
good.
it's so.
We got so many people hooked on that show.
It's one of
It was
those
amazing.
shows that's like it's so good, but it was so hard to just watch like one episode.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because each episode by itself is like so like tightly packed, but like it always leaves you just
And it does
with
a very
so
good
much
job.
cliffhanger.
It does a very good job of doing. It didn't really do that in the second season, which I wish it had done. But I mean, it was more episodic, which is okay. The first season did a great job of sequestering. Is that what you call it? Like sequencing it and like putting, like you'll have like Battle on Tross District Part 1, and I love
Yeah,
that.
yeah,
like sequencing it into the things of like when they had certain battles and certain arcs, it was contained in like Part 1, 2, and 3, and then move on to the next part and stuff like that. I always like that.
Oh, that show
But-
just gives me chills sometimes. Even like when I see things I've seen like numerous times, like probably one of my favorite moments is season 1.
Yep, when Aaron gets
they're at
quote
the bottom
unquote
of the well, no, so that actually isn't it.
That's
but it's
my
like
favorite
when-
moment.
That's one of them, but it's like when they're at the bottom of the wall, because I feel like so the moment I'm going to describe it, I feel like what it does is it establishes something so deep in the world that they're in of just how desperate and how like crazy everyone is because of what's happening. Is he's at the bottom of the wall and he like they think he's a Titan, and so he like is saying like they're like, you need to admit to us you're a Titan or we're gonna shoot or whatever, and he's like, I'm a human, and Armin's like then gives this like impassioned like, just this is what we'll do, like whatever, and the one guard is just like, doesn't matter, and he starts like giving the signal and everyone's like, frick, and then you're just like, oh, it's in the can. It's oh gosh, I get
We could
I
go
get
on.
so
We
excited.
should do maybe once season 3's over or something like that. We should do like a Attack on Titan theme
Oh, for
podcast.
sure.
That'd be
Yeah,
super
that'd be
fun.
Yeah.
Will you
'Cause
still
that's
be
good.
around then? Because it might not end.
I mean, probably not, but I can chime in online or something. We can
Yeah,
figure that out.
we'll figure out a system to
we'll figure something out.
get you in sometimes.
Yeah,
Cool.
Yeah.
that'll be fun.
What
But-
else have you guys been up to?
I've
Pop
been
culture wise.
I've been back into gaming hardcore. I was kind of in a after I had like I think I mentioned on one of our episodes about just like getting huge into Street Fighter and a bunch of those games. I'm still into that, but I kind of was not dissatisfied, but it was just like it only went so far, and like I still play them, but it was just like I'm still enjoying these, but it's not as like I wasn't as on to the hype train of like I finally figured out the formula and like
Yeah.
getting into it, but I kind of was just like, I want to play like an RPG because JRPGs are just my bread and butter, I'd say. And got back into Xenoblade Chronicles 2. Still enjoy that game a lot. I would say, this is a very brash statement, it has one of the best settings aesthetically in most games I've seen.
How so? In comparison to other modern titles?
Xenoblade 1 and 2, I think both of them have this, just the vastness of everything. I took some like screenshots on the Switch, which has that nice screenshot button. If I could pull them up, I could. But there were so many moments where like, because the whole thing with like 1 and 2 is that you're on you're on like giant monsters basically. That's like the world that, and for one of the worlds or one of the areas you visit, it's like inside a monster, because like the other ones are like on their backs or like, so it's like open sky, but this one was like inside a monster, so you think it's like, oh, it's gonna be all guts and nasty, but it's like just this like serene you can still feel like you're inside something, but it's so vast and big that it like is I can't even describe it. So beautiful. I would literally just show screenshots for you guys of like, there's just so many moments where like I'm literally just standing. That's a good setting for me is when I stop and just look at everything. And that's what I did with like Breath of the Wild. Breath of the Wild's a great example of like
that's what God of War was for me. It's
Yeah.
just like,
moments where you just stop and look at everything and you're like, I feel like I'm in this. That is like a good setting for me is when you feel like you are inside the world traversing it, and Xenoblade 1 and 2 feel very much so like that. Like you're experiencing the vastness and just soaking everything in. Whereas like even in like some linear games too, like that's how I feel about Final Fantasy VII, is that the setting is like very, very linear, but like just the areas you're in are just so detailed and so like interesting and exploring and stuff like that. So that's what I appreciate about those, and Xenoblade 2. That's what I've been appreciating about it.
Nice.
I also picked up Octopath Traveler. That's the new Switch
so
RPG.
tempted to get that.
It's good. I highly recommend it.
I played the demo and I didn't like it just because the combat was so hard. But everybody I've been seeing on YouTube say like, I think the demo was intentionally like more difficult than it should be.
Yeah,
and they said when you start getting characters and when you start like building your team and stuff,
it's
it gets
really
more
really fun. Yeah, I enjoy it a lot. And I was telling Josh this the other day. My only thing, I'd say the only bad part I don't like is that the Tales, because it's like the whole gimmick is that it's like you play 8 different characters' Tales, and like, you know, they have all these. So my only thing that I'm kind of sad with is that the characters don't really interact with each other. That's a really, really hard thing for me, because like I'd say like Persona 5 and Final Fantasy 7 are like my 2 favorite RPGs or JRPGs, and there's what makes those good is that the characters interact and have such great depth and conversation and characterization, and that's lacking in this one, which kind of sucks, but it makes up for each individual character's story is so well written from what I've seen, because I've played the Merchant Girl. That's like Tressa the Merchant Girl. That's the story I started off with, and it's pretty interesting stuff. There's Olberic the Warrior, who's kind of little tropish, but still interesting. And then Primrose the Dancer, super, super interesting. Because like I had read online, there's someone who was saying that like that was his favorite story. It was something from like Kotaku or The Verge or something like that. It was like, this is, you know, she definitely had the best story out of all of them, or best introduction at least. So like the payoff is, even though like the characters don't have too much interaction with one another, at least their individual stories are really interesting, captivating, because then that makes me want to play it. If there was like no payoff of, you know, like these guys are just kind of doing whatever, then it's like, oh, I'm not gonna invest and I'm not interested. But if it's like each of them have a really interesting goal, then I'll pursue that. So, and yeah, the gameplay is super fun. RPG, I praise any RPG that takes like turn-based and makes it interesting. And I think Donkey had said that before, of like our turn-based combat is inherently boring. You're choosing commands and acting them out, but if there's tactical elements to it, like gear you equip and the way battles are played out, then I will gladly partake in that. So that's what this game does too. And lastly, I picked up, it was only $3 on the online store, Mega Man Legends for the PS1. It is a top-notch game. I was very surprised, because Josh and I had always been Mega Man fans when we were younger.
Is it like side-scroller platformer?
No,
Mega Man?
it's like 3D open world. Well, not open world per se, because like, you know, that's hard. During that time, you don't really have open world stuff. But like, if you know what I mean, it's like 3D exploration.
Is it kind of like X, but not turn-based?
Yes,
Okay.
exactly like that.
Frick, I love that game.
But you have like,
now saying that, I'm like, oh, I need to pick. I think JT still has my copy of that.
Yeah.
I need to snag that back.
yeah, but this
So
one does
good.
it better, because it's like you know, like you have like a button to shoot and stuff. You like change. You can like upgrade your gear and change your stuff. You have like a whole town that you can like go and interact with people and, you know, do all that
Is it
stuff.
like first person or third person?
No, it's third person.
Third person.
And it's super fun. I've always loved Mega Man to death. Mega Man is one of my
Played
favorite.
a Mega Man game before.
They're so good. Mega Man Battle Network was
Those
probably
are our favorites.
those are our
yeah.
favorite iterations, just because they had
That's
some,
Game
it's
Boy
some good
Advance?
stuff. Yeah,
Right. Okay.
super
Played the
fun game.
crap out of those. White and blue
Same.
were awesome.
Yeah. I had a flashback this morning of when I was at Jeremiah's house back when I was like 7 or 8 years old, and I like brought my SP with me, and they were playing like Call of Duty, and I wasn't into that back in the day. So they were playing some game, and then I was just like, I beat the final boss while I was at a friend's sleepover, and I was so proud of myself. But those games are really good. But I would say these are shaping up to be some of my favorite Mega Man iteration. Only because like
It's called
Mega Man Legends. Yeah, because it does take itself seriously. It's just kind of goofy and cartoony, but I'm a sucker for that. So I'll.
Did you get it on the PS3 or the Vita?
PS Vita.
Vita?
So get it on the go.
Nice.
And that's what's made it also nice too. Yeah, so that has been really fun to play. Like mechanic wise, it's hard to describe. It's just like kind of like a third person shooter, I want to say, but it's like not.
I think I kind of know what you're.
It's not like Gears of War or like Mass Effect, you know. Like
no, I know
you're not
going to
have that level of gameplay and stuff like that. And there definitely are points where like it's super clunky.
Does it play kind of like the Toy Story Buzz game?
Yeah, it kind of does.
Like
play
I think
it's
Toy Story 2.
Yeah, like there's a mix of platforming, but also kind of shooting and stuff like that. Yeah. But I'd say this one's a little more refined, just because it's like you upgrade your stuff and you can even like fast travel in it, which I was like, that is a nice. Like you get your car upgraded and rolls like I could take you anywhere. I was like, man, this game is like ahead of its time. Like
interesting
1990s, and you're able to fast travel to locations and stuff. I was like, that I can.
You want to slide over more?
Yeah,
You'll make it work.
That's what I've been up to. Super fun game, Mega Man. So Mega Man Legends and Octopath Traveler and Xenoblade 2 have been like what I've been plugging hours into recently. So been a lot of fun.
Cool.
Jay,
do you want to go or I can go?
I can go.
You mentioned God of War, so I'm really you talked it up a lot, and I know you took like a huge video game fast for a while, but you were like,
I think like
it was a good get back.
I was in a pretty hardcore video game fast, like just not interested in video games, and I just decided on a whim previously I had put on a hold on it for at the library, and it was like I was like 20th in line or something, so it was just I forgot about it, and then all of a sudden it came in. I was like, well, I guess I have to play it now because I only have 2 weeks to beat it. So I played it, and holy crap, I fell in love. I think it's definitely
I'm in love.
I think it's definitely in my top 10, but it might be in my top 5. I think
all time.
Oh my gosh,
holy cow!
I think like. Oh, it's so hard to explain.
Sometimes you got to let it sit for a little bit.
Yeah, and that's the thing is I haven't played it. I like forced myself to just send it back to GameFly because I wanted to finish it and I had to return it to the library, so I signed up for a free GameFly just to get this game and beat it. It was that good. But I forced myself to return it, and I'm just kind of like sitting on it for a while, and I just like can't stop thinking about the game itself. It's just I think like in my mind right now, it is like I don't want to say it itself is a perfect game, but it's like the shining example of what I think a perfect game should be.
Mm-hmm.
I think like to me the narrative felt so. First, I want to start off by saying I'm not a God of War fan. I've never really I've played a couple of the original games, but I'm not really like a hack and slash.
Well, and this one seemed very different from the other
and that's why I want
to
preface like I'm not really into the whole whatever God of War was, like hack and slash. Like it's kind of cool, like Greek mythology or whatever, but it wasn't like that deep of a narrative. So the first reason why I love the game is because of how much they revolutionized like their game.
Yeah.
And like they turned what was kind of a dying franchise into like I feel like this game is going to be a contender for the game of the year.
I'd see that.
On a lot of
Yeah.
awards.
Yeah.
I think like and
Good
it was
deal.
getting like 9.5s, 10s across
Sure.
the board from people, and like there's a video of the creative director like opening the reviews for the first time, and he like starts crying and like I can't believe like you guys actually like this game. And it took him like 5 years to make, and like so I think
it is
like
cool, yeah. Anytime like
yeah.
a creator revolutionizes the series and just
Yeah.
gets, that's how I felt. Like all the stuff you're saying is how I felt with Persona 5 of like I've been a Persona fan, but then this game just like knocked, like I was excited for when they showed like the most cryptic trailer, and it was like 50 seconds long with no gameplay or anything, and I was excited for it. And then like 3 years down the line, I was like, this beat my expectations. And then everyone else was saying that too, of like it's become like in recent decade like the best JRPG and all that stuff. And it's cool to see that, like, because like with those franchises there is like the higher chance, because that happened like Banjo-Kazooie. That's happened Banjo-Kazooie. They tried bringing it back with nuts and bolts, and it ended up killing everyone's love for any scrap of love people had for the franchise.
Well, and I think that's the thing too with this game is when people first showed it, it was very divisive because they're like, Kratos shouldn't have a kid. Like that's weird. Like he's the God of War. He's supposed to be like aggression and all this stuff. But the way they like transformed and like melded his new character with the old one, and like the way they transformed that narratively is just like it rivals BioShock in my mind of like storytelling.
It's an interesting concept. You're taking a dude who is known for just brutally slaughtering murder, like even memed into the fact that how brutally he kills people. Has a child, he has to,
and they like fold all of that into the narrative of this game of,
and
like,
do it well.
How do you raise a child to be a decent like person, having the past that you have? And it's sort of like all of the things that Kratos has done aren't negated because of this game. They're the reason he's in this game. Like they're the reason he's hiding away in the Norse world, because there's nobody there. Like it's kind of like mythologically he's existing there when there's not really a lot of human beings. It's kind of the gods are ruling things. So he's just hiding away.
So it's
from
almost
his
like
past.
an escape in a way.
It is. And so he ends up finding his
Cool.
wife, and now his wife is dead at the beginning of the game, and him and his son have to bring the story of the game is pretty basic, but the way it plays out is just like blows your mind.
So I was saying, some of the best stories for me are ones that have a very simple, basic premise, but evolve into something greater.
Yeah.
That's what like captivates you, because then it wants to push you to do more.
Exactly.
Experience
because
more.
like the basic story of the game is they need to bring the mother's ashes to like the highest peak in Norse or whatever. That's like what she told him was her dying wish. Like spread my ashes on the highest peaks of Midgard or whatever. So that's like the basic premise, and you're like, oh, that's easy, whatever. It ain't easy. Let me tell you. So just the way that plays out is just impeccable in my mind, and the things they reveal at the end. And it's definitely like people were kind of mad because they restrict you from going to certain areas, like Asgard. You never get to go to Asgard, but like the game is set up as a trilogy. So like this first game tells the story it's supposed to tell, and then it leaves things where you're just like, frick, I want the second game now.
That's rough.
And so like it's just, and to me, I love like mythology and different things like that. So it ties in all this mythology, and like, oh my gosh, it's so good. And graphically, it's beautiful. I think it's probably, if you played it in 4K, it'd probably be the best looking game right now, like graphically wise. And I think the world did the same thing for me. Like there's scenes where like you're just riding around in like a canoe, and like you think that would be boring, like, oh, just trucking around. But there's a whole narrative thing where you have like this head that you like take along with you, and he like tells you stories about the Norse gods as if he's been hanging out in like pubs with them and stuff. It's just like so natural the way that like they like, it doesn't feel like they're lecturing you on Norse mythology. It's just kind of like you're learning about it through people who've experienced it.
Because that is some problem I have with some games is like, no offense to Skyrim, the world is great and amazing, but there are some points when you have to sit and listen to an NPC tell you everything, it's like,
here's the background of this century-long war, and I'm going to tell you.
Back in the days of yore, when the Jarl, blah, blah, and you're like,
And they kind of like turn that and they like make it fun, and like you never feel like you're being lectured. You feel like you're hearing stories from people who have sat down with like the gods, and kind of like, you'd be like, oh, why did you call this person this? He's like, oh, well, like
funny story, actually.
Like, literally like that kind of thing. And he's got like a Scottish accent. It's like, it's really funny.
Yeah.
Dude, accents in games are, I had that because in Xenoblade 2, they have like European people do the accent, and like there's like the king of one of the nations, whatever, has just like the best Irish accent. Is they're like, we don't want to be doing this anymore if we can't fight. And then I'm like, oh, if you just had like a boring English accent, I'd be like, what? Or like American accent, it wouldn't
like
be
northern
as cool.
Wisconsin.
Mm-hmm.
Oh dear, we don't want to fight.
Like there are some people with like American accents, or just like I don't want to say English because like, or British, yeah, that's British. Like normal English accents I can deal with like some cases and stuff, but like there just are some actors, like even in Octopath Traveler, they have full voice acting for stuff, and there are some voices where I'm like, ooh, that's not good. But there are some that are also very good, so it's kind of give or take.
Yeah. So that adds flair to it, and like you said before with Xenoblade, like there's just moments where you're like rolling in the canoe, and it's just like really somber. Like you kind of like, it adds these somber moments where you're just kind of like moving along, and Kratos and him are talking, and like he's asking him questions about things, and he's like he's kind of like the stereotypical father of like he's like hardened, and he's like, I don't laugh, boy.
I don't feel.
Yeah, like it's funny because
come here,
like,
boy.
Like Kratos will say something, or Atreus is the boy's name. He'll say something, and then Kratos will kind of like chuckle a little bit. He's like, "Did you just laugh?" He's like, "I don't laugh, boy." But like he did. But he's kind of like that guy who's like afraid to show like emotions to his kid because his kid's gonna see him as like weak in some way. But then the story kind of plays into that, and it ends up being this awesome thing.
Nice.
So
I might have to check that out.
Yeah,
actually.
it's
Black Friday. I'll be keeping my eye out.
That's the thing, is I haven't bought it yet. I've I've almost pulled the trigger on buying it so many times.
You just should.
but-
If it's that game, if you game
I
you
know.
love, then just
Yeah. There's too many games and comics I want to buy this year, though. So
It's kind of planning for the future.
yeah.
Gotta
But
have-
I would have just jumped the gun if I loved it. That
Yeah. Well, the thing is, I've beaten it already, and I've played a lot of the side missions. So now it's like I'm kind of waiting until they make New Game Plus, to be honest, because
Yeah.
they just didn't have the time to add that. So, but they are adding it eventually. So once
Maybe
they
when
do
that comes
that,
out.
I'll get it, and then I can use
Sure.
all my dope armor the second time around.
Nice.
So yeah, it was fantastic. I was very skeptical going into it because all of these games seem to just be doing like open world, giving you like loot with different grades of different colors. Like it's always gold, purple, platinum, or something like like Division and the new Assassin's Creed. And like, not that it's bad, but it seems weird.
It's formulaic that you kind of get tired of.
Yeah, but God of War uses it in a way that was interesting. So now I kind of want to go back and play like Origins and stuff. I'm like, oh, this is kind of, because it doesn't feel open world. They definitely like direct you within the world to certain places and like send you on certain paths. So
Yeah, but I feel
was
like
good.
sometimes that exploration is nice though.
yeah,
That's why Breath of the Wild is so good, is you literally just have the freedom to just go wherever and do whatever you want.
yeah,
To a degree, not like you can do everything, but
yeah.
there's so much to do
Mm-hmm.
in the vastness of the world and
Yeah.
stuff like that. So
And that's the
that.
thing I liked about this game. It just felt tight. Like the narrative, the world, everything just felt like it belonged there.
Yeah.
Like there was only certain aspects that would knock it down a little bit. Is that sometimes it gets a feeling of like fetch questy, but or like whatever you call it, where like you run into something and they're like, oh, you can't get past this because
You gotta
of
go
blank.
get this
You gotta go
skull
get
over
this
here.
thing.
Yeah.
That's
It
what
does that.
happened with
It does
Xenoblade
that sort
2.
of thing a lot.
Yeah.
But like in my mind, that's like a half a point maybe. So maybe it's like a 9.5 instead of a 10 or something.
That's what I would say.
So
That's
it
how,
wasn't
like,
terrible, but
yeah.
there's some moments where I'm like, some people might not like this as much.
Yeah.
But it
Xenoblade
fits
Chronicles
the
2
narrative.
had like Xenoblade Chronicles 2 is like fetch quests like that, and it definitely like they literally repeat the same lines of dialogue to the NPC that I just had with like another NPC for another quest. So it's always like, and it is almost the exact same thing of like, this person's missing, you find the person. I need this, well, I'll get this, and then it's like, thanks, now I can go back to this. And I do it for the EXP and grinding and stuff like that. And some of them, I've heard from some people that there are really interesting ones and like you get really good stuff out of side quests, but it's like, that's bound to happen.
Yeah, I think for me, I don't actually mind side quests like that if there is a payoff. So like for an RPG or something like that, or even like Assassin's Creed Origins has the same thing where, do I want to like go get this, like my husband's drunk and he's on this pillar, like go help him. You know, like there's literally one where like there's this whole thing where there's this woman who comes up and she's like, I don't know where my husband
game is this?
Assassin's Creed.
Okay.
She's like, he's over here, and you find that he's like on this like thing in the middle of the lake, and there's a bunch of crocodiles like circling, so you have to like kill them all or whatever. And it's like super dumb. Yeah, it's super dumb, but you get a ton of EXP from doing it, and so.
And
With
I think
that,
small
you
things
get
like
to,
that, you get to experience the world in a small
right.
way. Yeah.
But then there's also the payoff in the game where it's like, okay, well, if I do this, I get a chunk of EXP, and if I get more XP, I level up, and if I level up, I get more abilities, and so then
And
it's
it
like I
helps
can
you-
build my skill
yeah.
tree to like be better at this. So it kind of there's like some kind of payoff to it. Whereas
Yeah.
I don't like games where they just like make you do like the OG Assassin's Creed when they were like, go follow this guy.
I hate follow quests.
Fine.
Why
And then
why are those still in those games? Like, it's such a bad
They-
concept.
they don't do it. Well, and that's the thing is like it could be.
It could that's
could
true.
Be
It could
cool, but I think in the old games, it just was like there was no way to do it well. Like it was just like stay in the crowd, sit on this
Sit on the
bench,
bench,
like
yeah.
hide on this thing, and it's like, oh, guess what? There's archers on the roofs now. You can't do that.
Yeah.
You know, so it was
Like, do you know what I liked was in 3, as much as I hated 3, it was fun trailing someone, but like jumping from building to building and doing like that, make the movement and getting there fun, not this like, it almost like they're trying to make it realistic, even though it's a video game of like, just make some cool mini
Yeah.
thing out of it.
Yeah.
Like traversing and exploring. And I think that's what one thing I didn't like about Assassin's Creed is just moving around and stuff is just,
They
kinda-
still have their occasional bugs, but like this one is a lot better in terms of just like movement, and they have actual like dodges and counters and stuff like that I feel like actually play out a little bit better.
Yeah.
But anyway, don't hijack here.
Yeah, to finish off my God of War thing, the combat is just impeccable. Like, it's weird. I thought I would get bored because all you have is the
Axe
axe
and shield.
technically.
Sure.
Yeah, there's a huge spoiler that happens halfway through the game, so I don't want to ruin that.
I think I
but
actually know what it is because
you've probably seen things, but
I don't tell me.
what? Yeah, I'm
said I
not
don't,
I'm not
don't
gonna do it. But like, there's very limited weapons that you get,
Yeah.
basically. But you never get bored. At least I never got bored.
Well,
it's just
seems like,
so fun chucking that axe at people and like pulling it back. Like you think it would get boring after a while, but like the infinite amount of options is like you just like chuck, roll, draw back, chuck, roll, and it's not like in like a boomerang where it like goes and it just automatically comes back. Like you can kind of like use it tactically where like you chuck it and it freezes them in, like gets stuck in their head and it freezes them, and then you can like draw it back, and as it comes back it'll come through enemies and stuff, and it's just like
that's awesome.
Just the amount, like the combat just feels so smooth, and like it doesn't look as like stop motiony as it did in the commercials. I think they were doing that for effect almost, but like every hit just feels so powerful, and like you literally
feel the weight of it.
You feel like the God of War still.
I am the God of War.
Yeah, and
brother.
You do get more
Throw
weapons,
this axe, brother.
Yeah, you do get more weapons, but it's yeah. So it's a great game. I think it's
Cool.
I think it's at least a 9.5, maybe a 10 from me. So
Ooh.
I think
Wow.
it's just it's fantastic.
It's just
so good.
I won't spend too much time on the other things. I've been reading Grant Morrison's run on Batman, which is really good. It's really weird. Grant Morrison's really weird.
Is that the one where it was like you were reading at our place? That was with like
Yeah.
that
See,
was weird.
It sounded weird because I was explaining out of context. Like that Batman I was explaining to you wasn't actually Batman. It was it ends up being one of the 3 enemies who are impersonating Batman. And so like
But it still was it was thrown in your
it's an interesting thing. Grant Morrison's a pretty good writer, but he's very weird.
Have you heard anything about the White Knight?
Batman White Knight?
Yeah. Have you read it?
I want to.
I just saw a video the other day about it, and I was like,
Sean
that
Gordon
looks
Murphy is one of my
amazing.
favorite artists. He's the one who drew that, and he's one of my favorite artists.
even the narrative behind it
Yeah.
sounds awesome. Like that looks.
They're releasing a collection
of
this
it?
year, I think.
No, but I just remembered comics I was reading too.
So the premise is Joker actually tricks Batman into basically like force feeding him a bunch of like pills that like literally cure his insanity, like fully and psychologically. And so the Joker literally becomes, he's like, you are a menace. I truly believe you as Batman are a menace. I'm going to fix this city. And like, I'm going to be the White Knight, basically. And so then he
Weird.
like,
So wait, Joker
he
is
like becomes the good guy in a way, or like I don't know how it plays out, but that was kind of the premise that I saw in this kind of rehash video, and
It sounds really
and
good.
so there's a collection coming out at some point because I know
think
there's
they're Black Label, or I forget what it's called. It's called Black Label, I think. They're releasing it.
okay. Do you know when? Is there someplace I could find that timeline? I'll Google it.
I have it. I have a reminder set on my phone. So
Okay, nice.
October 9th.
October 9th. Okay,
Yeah.
I'm gonna put that down.
I put a reminder on my phone to remind me to pre-order or to buy it when it comes out. Because I use in-stock trades, and you can't pre-order using in-stock
Sure.
trades.
The 9th, you said?
Yep.
Nice.
while you're putting that in, I actually picked up a comic too that's not manga.
Oh, really?
Finally, yeah.
Nice.
It's a series called Tank Girl, and it's by, I forget the writer's name, but the reason why I picked it up is because
I've heard
Gorillaz
of
is
it
like the
before.
animated band.
Mm-hmm.
I love just like the art of Gorillaz and stuff, and they're one of my favorite bands actually of all time. And the artist who does like the Gorillaz animation drawing, Jamie Hewlett, I think is his name. I found out that he did like a comic series called Tank Girl back in like the 80s. And I was like, oh, nice. And I looked at the art, and it's very gritty, very like hard, like very essence of like 1980s getting dark and stuff like that. And kind of like episodic in nature, but just really, the art is just so good.
Interesting.
And it's really, yeah, I could go on and on about that. Like
Nice.
story-wise, it's not too much, but it's only just because like it's focused on the character Tank Girl. And I love her character. She's just kind of like a psychopath, basically. Just like, literally, she goes on this mission. It's so stupid. She literally goes on this mission to like bring, speaking of bowel movements, she like is supposed to bring like medicine for the president because he has like trouble with his bowels and he like might poop himself on stage. And she's like, you got it. But then like she literally she gets into a tank fight with another person, but she like gets to the meeting but like runs over everyone on accident. And she's just like, whoops. They're like, Tank Girl, you failed the mission, blah blah blah. She's like, well, whatever. And then just moves on.
Interesting.
I'm like, all right, I can deal with that.
Nice.
But it's like, it's not this thing of like over, I from what I'm reading, there's not like a huge arc or whatever. It's just kind of like mission little by little, stuff
Yeah.
like that. And that's really good. And then a manga I also picked up was My Hero Academia Vigilantes is the title of it. And real quick recap, I've talked about My Hero Academia, so I won't go too long. But I'm sorry, I'm taking your thunder. I feel bad. basically all it is just like the premise of My Hero Academia is focused on this idea of a society run like most people have superpowers and are superheroes, but Vigilantes covers this aspect of like, but what if not everyone is able to go through the hoops and hurdles of, because like you see in My Hero Academia that it's like you need to get a license to be a hero. You like can only put yourself out there for so long. You need to like find a person to be a mentor under. You need to go to the school. You need to like be trained, blah blah blah. And like there are those heroes that it's like the three main characters are people that like we just want to do good stuff, but like not go through all the hoops and hurdles. So that's what makes it interesting. Is like you have the characters from the series. It's really, I think it's like a prime example of like a spin-off, like a good spin-off, because you have characters from the main series being like, well, you can't do this. This is how it's run. These guys are like, yeah, but we're doing good. So what, like, who cares? And then deals with that idea and stuff of vigilante. Like, while My Hero Academia talks about what it means to be a hero, it's like this deals with what it means to be a vigilante and like a hero outside of that stuff. So I'm sorry for taking.
No, it's all good. That's actually sounds pretty interesting.
Yeah,
which is kind of just sounds like what most like normal comics, like
the normal
superhero,
superhero,
like, that's always
exactly
the central premise of Batman of like is what Batman's doing,
and that's what
a good thing,
and that's what the people talked about. And the writers were saying like when they were writing the original characters, they were saying like if All Might is kind of like supposed to be the Superman of their world, then like the main character for Vigilante's Knuckle Duster, or that's like his superhero name. Knuckle Duster is basically like the Batman of their world, except he's much more like weird and kooky, but that's what makes him funny is he like literally just beats people up just to find out information and stuff. And
sounds like Batman.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Okay. That sounds cool. Nice. My last couple things are Colin Moriarty. He's got a new podcast.
I've been seeing that. I need to download that, but
haven't heard of him.
He's from
Kind of
he was
Funny.
from Kind of Funny, which is a pretty big.
He's the guy that
podcast.
he kind of had a falling out, but now he's like
for like
more
a really
popular
stupid
than he
reason.
was.
Yeah.
But yeah, his Sacred Stones podcast is pretty good.
Sacred Stones. Okay.
Yeah, it's a PlayStation podcast
download that
specifically.
right
I mean,
now.
they definitely talk about the industry in general, but it's like PlayStation centric.
Yeah.
So it's pretty interesting. So, and
Cool.
he does it with Chris Raygun.
Oh, nice. Very nice.
It's pretty interesting. It's
Chris
interesting
Raygun's
hearing
a
Chris
character.
Raygun outside of his like snappy comedic,
Yeah.
because he's just like a normal dude. So I think it's interesting so far. He's only put up 2 episodes, so it's still in its like early stages. So you can kind of tell they're trying to figure out like what's actually basically like us in the beginning.
Nice.
But it's pretty good so far. I value Colin's opinion on a lot of things, but he's also very opinionated about certain things. But it's interesting. And then last 2 nights ago, I watched the first Blade Runner, which I think was actually for the first time. I thought I had seen it, but I think I was thinking of Total Recall with Arnold Schwarzenegger, which is a similar like cyberpunky movie.
So did you watch it with like the inner monologue?
No, so I looked it up, and actually the one with the inner monologue is the theatrical release.
Yeah.
Which Ridley Scott like hates the original director. He
Yeah.
hates that version and that version is actually the reason that the movie didn't do well, because the Disney basically, or Miramax maybe, basically like gave it a happy ending, like they'd ride off into the sunset and all this stuff.
Oh, really?
And that wasn't the intent of the film.
Interesting.
And so I watched the final cut, which might be the one.
Yeah,
you watched.
that's what I watched.
Yeah,
too.
which is the actual director's cut.
Yeah.
Because there's also a director's cut, which was also not actually foreseen by Ridley Scott, but the final cut was released in 2007 and was actually like overseen by Ridley Scott. So technically that is the definitive version of the film.
And what
But
were your thoughts?
I really liked it. I think I agree with you in the sense that like there's a lot of scenes that could have been bolstered by more
Just
information.
something. Yeah.
Because
just
even the ending scene where like the guy pulls him back up onto the roof and he's like sitting there like, and like you can kind of infer like the implications of that scene. Yeah. But like the voiceover that they have in the voiceover version of him thinking like, well, maybe these replicants are actually like more human than we think they are, and like all this,
it gives you some like credence to what he's. It is a thing of like he's such an interesting character. You want to know what he's thinking.
Yeah,
and that's what makes the
so
movie.
I think the theatrical
more
release
interesting.
would help with that.
Yeah,
and I think just watching it a second time might help too.
Yeah,
But I really liked it. As soon as I watched it, I got like obsessed with it, and I was like watching videos on YouTube, and I don't know, I just really like the aesthetic and
and that's what I was praising. But even though I didn't like those parts, it was like aesthetically, it's what
and
made
like,
Cyberpunk.
I was
basically.
like, this is from the 80s. Like,
it's
holy crap!
nuts.
Like
it
the
was
Cyberpunk
revolutionary.
aesthetic. I was like, dude, what the heck? So like the film itself is just
when it wasn't even late, it was like early.
Amazing.
I think it was like 1980. I thought
it was 82. I think
82.
Yeah. So really early on.
It's insane.
So I think it was awesome. So
Sweet.
I also loved the second one, or 2049.
2049 was awesome.
And I think I love that
love
one
that
as
movie.
well because of the aesthetic. A lot of the complaints about it are the narrative stuff, but I think it's just a misunderstanding of the genre, maybe.
Yeah.
Or what the movie was.
And I think
trying to
also
accomplish.
just not understanding what Blade Runner is. Like
Yeah.
Blade
That's
Runner
what
is
Mr. Bear
not
said,
a
is he was-
straight. Yeah, that was his point, and I totally agree. It's
It's
just,
like, it's
not straightforward.
just thinking about the implications and the questions they bring up of like humanity and the replicants and stuff. It's, I don't know, it just forces you to think. So
Yeah,
I like
good
that.
flicks. Definitely.
Yeah, so that's what I've been up to.
Sweet.
What about you?
I've been plugging away at Metroid: Samus Returns. Actually, the 2DS or 3DS. I've been playing it on my 2DS. So it's awesome. I really dig it. I think I've always kind of shied away from the Metroid games just because
the 2D,
of some of
or
the,
like the platformer
2D,
Metroid games. Yeah.
Specifically because there's not as much like full 180 degree axis control, I feel like, in terms of like shooting and stuff. Like some of the old school ones, I think you can angle up your shots, but then you have to line up more to actually like hit stuff. Whereas this, you can like stop, pull up, and have like a full like 40, 90 degree horizon line to like shoot stuff. So you can be really fast and run and gun. And so I've loved that. It's really fluid and it's very interesting. I like the formula. I don't think I would have guessed I would have liked the formula. Just to like go, progress, get stuff, come back, add things in, and kind of keep going. It's just like, it's in a weird way, it's a very like relaxing game of just not trying to play it for some crazy story. I'm not doing anything. It's just like a game to like pick up, put a little bit of time in. When I beat it, It's fine.
Yeah.
Like,
That's how
or
I
even
feel-
just say I played it.
That's how it is in Mega Man Legends. Is it's like it's just kind of
It's just a fun
it's
one to
just
pick
fun.
up. Yeah.
Games can be fun and then still be good. Like, they don't need all this depth and complexity and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Which
Did
some
Hollow
people
Knight
think
make
they
you
do.
want to play
Oh,
that?
dude,
I'm curious.
Hollow Knight is freaking amazing.
Is it?
I've
heard it's hard, so
love
I haven't
Hollow
I haven't
Knight.
picked it up in a while only because of that fact of like it's just I'm inherently not super good at those kind of like rogue. I think it's rogue platformers or whatever. Like I'm okay at platformers, but platformers like that, like Metroid and Hollow Knight, I'm awful at. Like I actually started playing a little bit of Super Metroid on my 3DS because they have the out it on the eShop, and I'm not good. I'm so bad at that game, and I just can't.
I mean,
can't
Hollow Knight
progress.
takes it to another level, though, doesn't it?
It's
'Cause
nuts. It
anytime
is.
people even mention Dark Souls in relation to any game, I'm like, not playing it.
It's I think with Hollow Knight, I just love, and I'm sure like if I went back and played Bloodborne 2, I would maybe enjoy it more. I think because it's a 2D space, it takes out some of the elements you have to account for a little bit. So it's not easier in that. I'm not saying it's like easier, but I think mentally I'm able to personally look at it.
Yeah, you're
a little
in
bit
control.
more.
You're in more control.
Right.
Whereas like with Bloodborne and stuff, like I literally watch donkey videos of him playing that in Dark Souls, and it's like you can literally just like be walking by a corpse and think it's dead, but then it just comes up and kills you. Like that's the point where I'm like, that isn't fun.
Well, it's
I'm
one of the
thinking more
mechanics
like
because
the
you do have to
difficulty
be
of the
and
game.
that is one of the mechanics. Like when you
Yeah,
do
you
know
do have to
that
be like on your toes.
yeah,
and
you
stuff.
and like that's kind of the world that Bloodborne is like you do have to be on your toes and you have to be like ready for anything, which I think is great if you're the kind of person who doesn't mind like I don't think that guy's dead, so I'm gonna run up and start swinging.
Yeah.
Whereas it's one of those games you have to almost constantly be involved because if you turn a corner and you're just kind of like, all right, I'm just kind of bam, and you're dead, and it's like
you're
you
not
literally
taking
have to kind of
strolls
like
through that
you're not
game.
taking strolls through Bloodborne and Dark Souls. Like you gotta at least if you're a novice player or like or
Basically,
just
everything
jumping
you
in.
do needs to be intentional.
Exactly. And which it can be really fun. And those are some of my favorite times when I was thinking through and like, okay, remembering this and this guy does this and okay, there's a pattern of like these two guys. And if these two guys come at me at the same time, that's going to be bad news. So I got to get this guy first, go to this guy, and then I'm good. Things like that. So there's a lot of strategy. But then it also can be infuriating if like it just takes a lot of mental energy to be participating, at least when I've played it.
Is Hollow Knight kind of like that? Like it's just really hard?
I think what makes Hollow Knight difficult, and granted, I'm really early on. Like, I just beat like one of the very, very, very first bosses that was like pretty basic, like difficult, but was pretty basic.
You haven't fought like I don't want to give spoilers because it might not.
Yeah, I haven't. It was like the giant guy with the club. That was like one of the first ones where
and he was kind of
difficult.
hard. Yeah.
But I think this is the thing: is there's probably mechanics that in not understanding how some of the like the nuances work, like. I don't know if I can parry, like, because there was one time where I was fighting a guy and I timed my swing right and it like knocked him back or like canceled his attack. So I was like, I don't know if that is a mechanic in the game. I'm not gonna risk it because I don't want to get my butt kicked if it doesn't go right. But I think just aesthetically, like, there's just so much mystery in the art style and everything is just super cool. And there's like a deeper narrative there that I think is drawing me in more than like Bloodborne or Dark Souls. I think specifically Dark Souls. I'm sure Bloodborne has a very fascinating like lore and everything going on.
I think the problem, even with those games though, is that they don't give you anything. Like, you have
just
to
gotta
figure
run.
out all of
You
the
gotta
lore
figure it out.
yourself, and sort of, which is why people like it. But at the same time, it's frustrating because like. I'm already stressing out trying to kill everything.
Right,
like,
exactly.
I don't have time to read a book in the game.
Right.
Yeah, what
Like
if someone
minstrel.
comes right? What if this book eats me? Or
Yeah,
something?
what
exactly.
if the book freaking kills me?
Yeah. So I would say it's definitely hard. Like, it's not an easy game.
Because I remember I was playing Shovel Knight and I couldn't beat it.
Oh, really?
I couldn't even beat Shovel Knight.
If you can't beat
I
Shovel,
can't-
no, you're not going to enjoy Hollow Knight.
I need to finish Spectre of Torment, but
Yeah,
I mean,
I'm just
like,
I mean, I've been
bad at
replaying
2D platformers.
Yeah.
I think.
You get better at them the more you play them, because I
Yeah.
realized that, because like when I first bought Shovel Knight, I was in the same boat. Like, this is freaking hard, but I've been replaying it recently. I'm like, why is this so much easier than it was before? And I think it's because I've played more.
You play a lot.
Yeah.
oops.
I'm monkeying with knobs.
Stop monkeying.
I think like
Stop
for me,
monkeying around.
the reason I don't want to put time into getting good at a game is the same reason kind of that you were explaining before at brunch about like My Hero Academia. It's like I could spend time getting better at a game, or I could just play a game that I think I'll enjoy and play it
Right
on
off the
easy
bat.
mode.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
because that's how I play God of War. Is like I played on easy mode because I want to experience the parts of the game that I actually enjoy. Because combat for me is like the last thing that I evaluate.
Yeah.
So
And it's hard because I think Hollow Knight would be one of those amazing games where if they could have maybe like tiers of difficulty.
like, I don't get why games don't do that. Like
Well,
just because I'm a scrub doesn't mean I deserve to play
I
the
can't
game.
get-
Like,
I think what's difficult is specifically with games like that is it's so hard that you have to be that good to play it or beat it. And I think that is great for certain crowds, and that's almost like a hook, line, and sinker for people in that genre.
Yeah.
So as soon as people hear like, oh, it's like 2D platformer Dark Souls, they're like, done, money, get here, go.
Yeah.
Whereas like for other people, it's like, ooh, that could be kind of fun to pick up and
It's
play
very much a thing of
occasionally,
preference,
but,
yeah.
I think the one reason that is technically difficult is this is where my mind goes of where they could do it is if it wasn't necessarily like the difficulty, but maybe the number of hits that it took to kill certain things. Like, I think like that's where it would be kind of fun to play like Bloodborne easy and then go Bloodborne medium and then Bloodborne hard, where it's
like every other
like
game.
like easy. It's, you know, maybe some
Or
of these other
training
guys,
mode.
right? It's like, or easy. It's maybe like, okay, it's the same difficulty and these things are just as hard, but they like maybe don't do as much damage to you, or you can kill them in like 1 or 2 hits versus like 5.
Yeah, I think,
and then scale it up
yeah.
depending on
that's
what
my
your
problem with
preference
games
is.
like that is people always say you just have to get good. I'm like, yeah, but I have a hard enough time doing that in real life. I don't want to. I don't want to like get beaten to crap in a video game
Right.
and not have any fun.
Yeah.
Like, I played 2 hours of Dark Souls and beat probably like 15 minutes worth of like the narrative, and I was like, how is this fun to anybody? And maybe I'm just not learning how to play it, but like, I don't know. Sometimes I just want to.
Some people just thrive on the difficulty. Like
And-
our
yeah,
younger
and-
cousin GT absolutely loves hard games and tries.
Oh,
to
he's
play.
like obsessed with Enter the Gungeon, which I've tried. Like, that game is bonkers.
Yeah,
it's
I actually
so
Donkey
freaking hard.
put a video on that and said it's
Yeah, I
a good
watched
game,
that
but he
one.
said it was like a seasoned gamer, like plays Dark Souls, plays Bloodborne, like says that game is hard,
Dang.
like super
and
difficult.
I've seen it, and
And
like,
he has a really good video. If I can cut it in, sorry, he does talk about difficulty in video games, and he had a really interesting. Actually, why don't you finish your point about the Gungeon, and then I can.
well, no, I was just gonna say, like, in his video, he just has some obnoxious shots of like bosses that you're fighting, and it's like all these like bullets that are flying, and literally, it's
The room is,
the
like,
room
filled.
is just like a red swirl of things, and there's like little pockets, literally the size of your character, that he's like moving and bouncing between and like dodge rolling, and it's just I couldn't handle that. Like that would stress me out, and I'd just be panicking. So I'm not super into it.
No.
But I totally understand people who that is their bread and butter, and that's
Yeah.
the thing that they just go.
But
to.
adding an easy mode doesn't take away from that.
Right?
Well,
but
yeah,
I think
that's
So they're like losing.
But then
sales.
that's you have to take into account also the economic value, where it's like, well, do we just cater to this, or do we put in extra money, extra dev time, extra this into making these other things
That's
that
true,
to
yeah.
us in our mind it's like we'll just make the health lower, we'll just make this, but like
Yeah.
that's coding time, that's
Yeah.
like production
It's
time.
just what do you want to
There's-
invest in?
There's so much stuff that goes into even just making little changes like that, and that could
Yeah.
even potentially change the nuance of the game itself, and then they've got to figure out how to handle that of like, well, how is the nuance changed then from easy to medium and medium to hard and stuff like that.
That makes sense. Yeah,
And that's what the one Donkey video was saying, though, which was really interesting because he gave the example of he played through Halo 3 on hard mode and then on it was basically like the two hardest modes, and he said like the very hard mode was just the most brutal thing he ever went through, and it was so difficult, so hard, but he felt accomplishment when he beat it. But he said he played it on hard mode, or like the second hardest, and said he just kicked the game's butt. But then he said the interesting question of that is like, which one did I like more? And I think that's kind of like the thing that difficulty poses in games, which is interesting because like I think that's a prime example of do you enjoy getting beaten down but then coming back up and rising up and that sense of accomplishment, or do you enjoy progressing and making through and knowing that you're chipping away at it little by little, and actually pushing yourself forward and getting better from that sense rather than
And I
just
think it's Mr. Bears made that point in the last it was the last episode of like some people play games for the story, some people play it for the competition, and sometimes that competition is against the game itself, and so all of a sudden it becomes like freaking Dark Souls, I'm going to beat that stupid game, whereas for other people it's like, well, if I'm trying to play it for the story, it's going to be a bad time, whereas other people, they're playing it for the internal competition of I want to overcome it and actually beat it.
It just sucks because every game like that sounds like it has a dope story.
Yeah, or it's just got a
Or
lot
like
of
a
really
dope
cool lore.
Like Bloodborne's lore.
Bloodworks lore.
Bloodborne's lore just seems so fascinating.
It
Like,
is.
the Victorian stuff,
And
or like
the- yeah,
even Dark
the setting.
Souls, like the mythological stuff. I'm just like, dude, I would love this if I could actually play it.
But it's freaking hard.
Maybe I'll just watch somebody play it.
Yeah.
Or something.
You could, yeah.
Yeah.
And even Hollow Knight, like that sounds. It's just like I've seen some things online and stuff, and it sounds fascinating to me. But as soon as I see like anything about it being hard, I'm like, no. Even Cuphead, I intentionally didn't buy that because it was like everybody's.
I'm
like,
gonna
this
die.
Is so
I'm
hard.
gonna-
It's-
yeah.
Yeah.
I love torturing myself.
That is
Like,
definitely one where like I enjoy it to a degree. Like I remember I was on one boss that was just driving so bonkers. It was driving me nuts. But as soon as I beat it, I did feel that like, and that's the interesting thing is I remember feeling like accomplished, because I think another person, like I think of our younger cousin, for example, he would feel accomplished and be like, I'm so good at video games. When I beat that, I was like, I could finally go to bed. Thank you. I've been up for 2 freaking hours trying to beat this stupid boss. And then I close the computer and I'm in bed like, I'm like relieved. I'm not happy and satisfied.
Yeah,
I'm like,
you don't feel accomplished.
I don't feel
It's like,
accomplished. I feel like
"Jeez."
I
Yeah.
just did a long chore. Like it felt like it was something where it was like I was doing this menial task that was at first fun, but then got really cumbersome and annoying after a while.
Mm-hmm.
So
Definitely. Cool. That was basically it. It's Samus Metroid is fun. Hollow Knight is fun.
Oh, yeah.
I'm liking it. The hard games are fun, I guess. Speaking of fun hard games, so my only other thing that I was going to talk about is, so I did play Fortnite, and I've officially tried Fortnite for numerous games, and so I have a formulated opinion. I understand it. I do understand.
were you booing him?
No, I was burping.
Oh, I thought you were like,
No, I've thought about trying it too.
It's one of those games where I think it accommodates so many different types of like play style. Like you can be super aggressive, you can be super defensive, you can be stealthy, you can be like whatever. It is fun. Like like when we played it last week we were hanging out with our younger cousins and we were playing as a team of 4. Like that was really fun. Like we got ganged up by a team of like 3 or 4 and we were like, oh, get them. And so then like we just like pound this team. We're like, yeah. And then we go off and there's this other team. We're like, oh, do we like pick a fight with them? And then like we jump in and then we all got murdered. And then like you and Jordan ended up making it to the very end where they was like them versus like another team. And then there's like, it's intense. Like it's very fun to be like, oh, come on. So I totally.
I think the sad part for me is like, I don't like it when you get to the very end because it's like, if you're playing with seasoned players, you have no chance.
That's not true, actually. I wouldn't say so. Because like
Yeah, I guess it depends how you're playing.
It really, yeah, and I think this is what makes it so interesting is it plays out. So I'll get into like why I personally like it and how my personal play style I think drove it to be fun for me.
Yeah.
I did win. I got first place once, so I have
Victory
won.
Royale.
Bro, you got no victory in
but
Fortnite.
but in that match, what was interesting is the guy I was playing, I think, probably had played the game more than I did. But I was kind of like, okay, like he probably knows what to do. You like tower up, you get the higher advantage. I was like, I'm just gonna build this wall. I just built one wall and I just sat there but I like positioned myself behind the wall so I could see where he was going. And then as soon as he started coming down, I basically played the defensive of like, come at me, go on, come at me. And eventually what happened is he just ran up, and in the time that he had like, I would build like layers of walls where it was just like one wall, run back, one wall, run back. And he would just be like trying to shoot through the walls to like chase me because that was like his strategy in trying to get me. So eventually I just got to a point where I just like sat in between one of the walls and just like waited. And so then by the time he like broke the wall down, he was reloading. Done. But like that's one of those moments where for me, it was like, that was actually a lot of fun. Like that exhilaration of, okay, this guy is probably better than me. Can I outthink him through the game mechanics? I don't have that way of
thinking.
Like I feel like in the context of the game, that's like me using Charizard on a flat map on Super Smash Bros.
It's like, but in a weird way, it works. Like if that person, because I tried a similar thing like that in another match where I was one of two, or it was me and another guy, and it's whoever got it won. And I actually was holding my own. Like he was clearly like much better than I was. But I did the same strategy. Like I played back. He started building up towers. I ran under his tower at one point, got a couple shots off. He was trying to look for me. He couldn't see where I was. I ran out, was building walls behind me, and there was a point because like and then you have the added element of the cloud shrinking, and so it was getting to the point where I was actually playing defensive to get inside to the center, so he would actually have to chase through. So I was like, all right, that's free damage points for me. But I made the mistake, and this is the amateur part of me. Instead of keeping and running, I ran, and there was like a garage that had like one way in, one way out. And so I was like, okay, if I can sneak in here before he knows where I am, like I'll be fine. I'll kind of sneak out at some point when I hear him coming, and I'll have the upper hand. But what ended up happening is I was sitting there, and all of a sudden, like after a little bit, I hear like stuff going up. I'm like, all right, maybe he's like looking for me, and he's like shooting stuff. And then a rocket flies in and just like blasts me, and I'm done. But I could be like, oh, that's so cheap. But then it's like, but I'm also having to play the strategy of, I don't know what guns he has.
See, you like to think during this game. But I don't like thinking.
But that to me, that's why it's fun, and I can understand why certain people who are really into it and who aren't just like fidelity and aren't just good at the fidelity of like building stuff and doing this and moving and shooting at crazy distances and stuff like that.
There's real strategy.
I love games where if I can outthink somebody, I will win. Like I love that. Like that to me is some of my favorite games. Mm-hmm. When I played Fortnite and I actually like won and was like placing high in the map, like I am probably the person that people get really mad at because I play super defensively. Like I almost play stealth where I get like 3 guns,
Camper.
enough to like deal damage, more or less.
I mean, that's how you win in that game, though.
Yeah, that's what I was always doing.
But that's the thing is like there were matches like one of the guys that killed me at one time, like at the very end, I was the first guy he had killed, but then he ended up being the last person and then he won. So it's like, okay, but he had a better strategy if his strategy is to win versus like, well, if my strategy is to get about a lot of kills, I just got to be aggressive and like hunt for people. But then you have a higher chance of like getting hurt and getting shot, and then you're knocked out. So I like the thinking aspect of you have to think on your feet, and I feel like I enjoy those games more because you can outwit a seasoned player by like just doing something unpredictable. They're like, well, this is how you play. You like do this and you build up to the top. I'm like, yeah, but what happens when I just sit here and you have to come at me? Well, you're a camper. It's like, well, you're not that good then. Like you can't outthink me. Like, let's go. Just come at. But I really enjoyed it because I could play stealth, and I didn't realize how much I enjoy stealth in games until
you should play Phantom Pain. Metal Gear Solid.
I do need to pick up Phantom Pain at some point.
That's literally that game is made for you because like I play that and I'm not good at stealth. So then when I get into
despise
that,
stealth.
yeah,
Oh, dude, I love it.
it's
but
so hard.
It is hard, but I think it's rewarding when you can pull off.
When you pull off really cool stuff.
Yes,
Yeah, that's
like
I do agree
Splinter
with
Cell
that.
Blacklist is probably one of my favorite like third-person shooter stealth games. Like there's you can have they have a tagging system, so you can actually like line up. You can mark people, and then they actually have an execute button where you'll like if you just start sprinting out in the open, and like those are the only 3 guys in the room. He'll like auto Sam Fisher, I think is the character. He'll like auto like cap all those guys as like insta kills and then like drop down. But that's only if like they're basic guys, you know. So
Yeah.
what I've done in the past is it's like, okay, let's say there's like 5 guys and I only have 3 markers. It's like, all right, I'm gonna mark these guys because these are gonna be the hardest to hit. Headshot, sprint, auto mark, bam, 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 and then you're done. You're like, that was so cool. Yeah. So it's you can. There's enjoyment for me in getting the upper hand, and again, like even if it's like outthinking the NPCs or whatever, it's just fun. It's just fun to have to be engaged in the moment of like I can't just like run into this room, and I can't just like step around this corner and expect there to be no one. You have to kind of play strategically and just kind of think through things. So
Nice.
that is why I enjoyed Fortnite. Never, probably not gonna play it again, but
Ever?
I mean maybe. It's
Never ever.
I think this is the thing with it. It was fun to like get a win and be like, all right, it plays first. Like that's awesome. But like, I don't earn anything. I don't get anything. It's almost like the lack of a draw to continually obsess about playing it over and over and over again, I think comes down to my arguments of certain games of like, sure, I can totally understand why people like love it. It's free. You get a ton of enjoyment out of it. You can progressively get better. There's a lot there. But I could also play in the time of like playing like 20 or 30 of the same round over and over and over and over again. I could like beat 2 or 3 games. And so in my brain, it's like,
Yeah.
I got my win. I
management.
experienced it. I totally understand. I have an opinion about it now that I feel like is like grounded in having actually experienced the game. Like that's it. I'm good. I'm done.
Yeah.
So
And we can play with friends too. That's what I was
that,
saying. Is like
yeah,
I
if like the
I
3
will
of
not
us
play
sat
that
down
game
and
by
played,
myself.
that would be
I'd
really
be down
funny
for that.
because you just like you can like goof off. Like when we were playing it unseriously of just like our youngest cousin, we're like, all right, Colton, where are we going? He's like, I don't know, let's go to the Gores. And we go and we like die instantly. We're like, you're a team leader, bro. You can't just. And he's like, I'm not doing it. He's like, you clowns are all the ones who died. And
We're
we're
like, yeah,
like,
but we said you're the leader.
It's like, yeah, but we said you're the leader. So
That's
it's
funny.
so it is a good time. It's kind of like when we play Overwatch too, where it's just there's something fun about engaging in a team game like that
With people you know.
Yeah,
not
exactly.
strangers.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, I think that's pretty much the gist.
Nice.
Just been
That's
Did
cool.
we just all we do is rehash?
I mean,
stuff
that's all
been-
that was on the notes, really.
yeah. That
Oh,
was
There
it.
is Pokemon news if we want to run through that quick.
What time
Pokemon
are
Let's
we
Go
at?
news. What time are we at?
Huh? Well, like 124, 126.
I feel like we could do that in another like.
It's definitely not a whole episode's worth.
More or less, they've announced
Yeah.
that the starters that you get in the beginning, whether it's Pikachu or Eevee, will not have
Evolutions.
evolutions.
I'm okay with I mean, like,
Um,
I kind of expected that because the way they were showing off the customization stuff, I figured, like, that was almost a telltale sign of they're not probably going to evolve. Like,
Yeah,
grow.
I wasn't too super surprised by
Yeah.
that. But
Plus, they
so-
released a map that shows Squirtle, Charmander, and Bulbasaur in the same places that you could get them in yellow. So I'm assuming that you'll probably be able to get them the same way. So
I actually
Nice.
didn't. I didn't know you could actually just straight catch them in yellow.
you don't catch them; they just give them to you.
Oh,
Like in Bulbasaur is the only one you can only get by Pikachu liking you to a certain level, so you can't get him till later. But
Okay.
Charmander is given to you by a person like at the top of the Golden Nugget Bridge. There's a person standing up there in yellow, and then Bulbasaur is given to you after you beat the Vermilion City Gym by
nice.
the police officer that's standing in the center there.
You're a good citizen, son.
Yeah,
Here, take this Squirtle.
basically. So,
Dope.
Nice.
Cool.
and then you
If you,
can,
if you just want to run through it quick,
the only other thing is that Jesse and James are going to be in it.
I did
Hey.
see that. That's pretty cool.
I like
Yeah.
that.
And then
They changed the rival. That was
Oh,
weird.
I'm so sick of this like
the friendly rival. No,
crap.
I want like the bitter dude.
No,
who
you
keeps
want
telling
like the
"Smell you
douchey
later."
guy who's like,
Yeah, I
smell
know.
you
I
later,
don't want
nerd."
him to be. I remember that's why everyone hated How, And so he's
He's too like a
he's too like
pushover.
that was a
Dude,
good
get out of
match.
my
You're like
way.
shut up.
Shut up, dude.
Maybe that's the whole point. Is it's supposed to role reverse, and now you're the douche.
That was
Yeah,
that
yeah,
was an
you are.
interesting thing though. People were saying like you could like role play as like the douchey guy. Like shut up, noob.
Yeah.
Smell you later. I just trashed
Yeah,
you.
smell you later. No, well, I remember that's why I loved the rivals in the other games. I still think the two best rivals is Blue and Silver from Gold and Silvers, because like, well, Silver was interesting because he's actually like
He's actually like a
Giovanni's
thief.
son and his Team
Yeah.
like related to Team Rocket, and then Blue is just like a hole. So it was like,
Yeah.
so you
And it made
felt
it for
accomplishment.
fun, yeah.
Yeah, it was.
But when you pound How, you're just like, I kind of feel sorry for the dude because he's like such a pushover.
When he's like, "Ha, that's
He's like,
okay."
"Ah, that was
Like,
fun."
that was
I'm
fun.
like,
I still
no,
love-
it wasn't.
I
Lay
need
down.
to get, I need to get stronger and like grow with my Pokemon and my love for. And you're like, dude, go,
Shut
leave, get out of here.
Get out of here.
up.
Like, I liked fighting that kid Gladion, the kid with the thing, because it's like,
Yeah.
he's edgy, he's mean, he doesn't believe in friendship. It's like, that's the
That's
rival.
the rival I
That's the
want.
rival I
Yep.
want.
He doesn't want anything to do with me.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Hates my guts.
And the other thing that they showed was they showed Brock and Misty this time, which is kind of cool.
Yeah.
And then they showed that you'll be able to battle like the birds.
So you can't
Oh,
catch
yeah.
the
So
birds then.
like you can catch the birds and you actually battle them versus doing the Pokemon Go.
Oh, interesting.
So I'm
That's cool.
guessing like legendaries you'll actually be able to battle. And
Like
I wouldn't mind that. That would
Like
actually
in the old
be...
game. That was how it was in the
Yeah.
old games.
Well, I mean, in the formula that they've been setting up, that like now you kind of have to just like run around and like find the Pokemon you
yeah,
want to
you don't
catch.
battle
but
wild Pokemon.
Yeah.
Other than the legendaries.
I still don't understand why they did that. If they could have done, if they're doing that with,
I think
like-
they didn't do it because they couldn't. I think they did it because they intentionally want Pokemon Go people
to get involved.
get
Yeah,
involved
that makes
in the
sense.
console games.
Still, just
Yeah.
It peeves me. I wish you could like switch it off.
I miss the random. Yeah. Random encounters were always nice.
And people keep bringing up like it'll be kind of nice because now you don't have to like keep battling all the freaking Weedles and Zubats and stuff. But at the same time, it's like when it's gone, you're gonna realize you kind of miss it.
Yeah.
right, yeah.
Like
It's
I kind
true.
of
Yeah.
come back to me, Zubat.
Well, and I don't even mind necessarily that they pop up in the world, because in a way I feel like that's actually more
It's a
realistic
little
to what
cooler, yeah.
Pokemon would be. Is you would be like, oh frick, there's a Bulbasaur, and then on your way to like run and catch it, like, oh, here's a Zubat, like.
Yep.
But I think to me what is weird is, okay, you have the Pokemon Go mechanic of like throwing the Pokeball, so why couldn't you develop it where you could still battle and get their health down and stuff? But
'Cause it
then
just
like
doesn't make
the
sense.
throw, you could still have the throwing thing in it. You could even still have the whole time factor of like, okay, well, like let's say he's at half health, but you like throw it and it just like nails him in the forehead. It isn't like one of those like
Wait, do they
accurate
not have
throws.
like the?
No, there's no battling with.
There's battling with trainers and stuff.
but there's
and
not
the
battling when
legendaries.
you like run into
no
a Pokemon
battling
in the
Pokemon?
wild. No.
What?
Yeah,
I didn't
Like
realize
wild,
that.
specifically
it's
wild
literally
Pokemon.
Pokemon Go mechanics, which is like for me, it's like that was the reason I always didn't like Pokemon Go because I'm like this just doesn't make sense.
Yeah,
like,
I
within the
wanna
world
bet-
of Pokemon, like
You
need to weaken
You get
them.
the old man to explain.
want to
you
beat my
battle
Pokemon to the ground.
Yeah. I want to get him to that little sliver of health and then throw a Pokeball.
it's like satisfying.
Speaking of Pokemon catches, sorry to brag a little bit. I picked up Heart Gold.
Uh-oh.
I accidentally ran into Raikou and caught him with a quick ball on the first throw.
Nice.
I am not
That's
even kidding.
clutch.
And I'm like, I'm only at the 5th gym. Like, just beat the 5th
So
gym.
you're
So,
just gonna
it literally was
trash.
like, I was trying to catch an
Jeez.
Abra for Psychic Pokemon to go against Brick. And literally just pops up and I was like, oh, Raikou, shoot. And I was like, all I had was a Pokeball and a quick ball. And I was like, oh yeah, quick ball, like throw it at the turn, like higher catcher. And I was like, okay. Threw it and it was like, droot, droot. I was like, no. Droot, no. And then it clicks, I was like, no.
save.
No, I literally did. I was like, I caught Raikou on my first throw.
Then DS dies.
I literally saved like 3 times in a row.
That's clutch.
That's
So,
awesome.
nice.
That's dope.
That was one of
But
the
yeah,
best
there's
Pokemon
no-
catches.
There's no beating them down to the last sliver of health and then catching them.
Yeah.
It's Pokemon Go. It's like time it right and then toss it, which might be
throw
kind
it.
of cool, but like it's like
Eh.
what's the training gonna look like? Like, is there gonna be enough trainers where we don't have to rely on battling? Like,
Yeah, dude,
grinding
you
it
got to
out?
battle Pokemon to get your EXP up.
And like you get XP by catching Pokemon, but does that mean we'll have more supply of Pokeballs? Like, or am I gonna have to spend all of my freaking money just to get experience?
Or is it going to be a pain? Like, or is the grind versus like
And
battling?
if
Is,
there's microtransactions, I'm gonna flip.
Oh yeah, dude, I would lose
they
my
put that
mind.
the
I
Pokemon
would,
Go
I
crap
would
in
maybe not buy it at that
if
point.
they confirm
If
that there's microtransactions, I think I'm gonna protest it.
yeah, I'm done.
You got to
Like,
take a stand somewhere.
No,
Yeah, no.
I will probably buy it anyways because I'm a sheep. But
To be honest, I probably will too.
I just to
I
me,
don't. I won't stand for this. Can you give me a copy of the super special?
no, I can still understand it, and I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if it's like $2 and get this and stuff like that. But to me, what it is I'm just gonna get really fed up if the only way I can level up my dudes to get ready for the next gym is like catching 30 Pidgeys.
Yeah.
like that's just
That's
gonna
worse
piss
than
me
having
off.
to battle 30.
Correct.
Pidgeys. I would rather battle and then have to.
Just like
no,
throwing
this is
stuff.
annoying.
Yeah, it's like this is stupid. Like
Yeah.
it just doesn't make sense. Like, oh, by throwing a ball, I'm a better trainer.
Somehow my Pokemon is better at attacking things.
they're just like
by
looking at you.
catching.
They're like, he inspires me. I'm gonna be a better Pokemon.
Yeah.
See, that's
And
why I was
there's
fun.
candies
Yeah.
in it too. Like Pokemon Go, you can like trade the Pokemon you catch into Professor Oak, and he'll give you candies.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's a little too close to Pokemon. Like I've been playing Pokemon Go, but I kind of want them.
It's
to be
not the same.
separate.
Yeah.
Like keep not my Pokemon.
Not my hashtag. Not my Pokemon. That'll be our hashtag that we start if it goes south.
If it goes sour, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm in the stage where I'm like ready to put my foot down on certain things though. Like I'm even considering canceling my pre-order for the new Fallout over the online
Really?
thing. Yeah.
Oh, I heard about. Yeah, that's.
Yeah.
I
Is,
would.
is it online only?
Yeah.
Oh, dude.
That's rough.
It looks like it's gonna be fun, but it's got me sour. Like it's.
I'd be.
just-
I mean, like the whole thing of what made Fallout cool is that you were on your own exploring the world.
Well, to be honest, it looks like Fallout 4. Like
It is.
nothing I've seen.
The game was developed as the multiplayer for Fallout 4.
So
But
it's
then
not
they
even
realized it was out of scope, so they turned it into its own game.
So it's not even like a new thing. It's
No,
just.
and I mean
wow.
it makes sense because like with their dev cycles, if it was a full-fledged Fallout game, that won't be for until probably after the next Elder Scrolls.
Which I mean, that makes sense.
It's like it's a spin-off, so I'm more inclined to try it out, just assuming it's not like the
Sure.
next Fallout game, but it's just the online. Like anytime somebody says like, "Oh, we're making an online version of this game," I'm
You're like,
just
shut
no.
up. No.
And they're
don't
even
do
talking
that.
about like some maybe in the future like battle royale and stuff. I'm like, don't make me puke.
Dude, people are getting
Dude, but
really
that's-
sick of
yeah, I
the
know.
battle royale. Like
I
I've
know.
seen a lot of things popping up where people are like, enough. There's
Yeah.
2 of them, and even
Yep.
they're kind of dying because
Yep.
it's just it gets old. It's
Yeah.
like I said with Fortnite, it was fun. I totally understand it.
Well,
But
even, like,
there's gonna
Overwatch,
be
yeah.
a point where like people are just gonna be like, this is
Online
this is
games
done.
don't last.
They
That's my thing.
don't,
It's like that's
yeah.
why even like League of Legends and World
yeah,
of
like
Warcraft,
League of Legends.
like,
I've seen a bunch of freaking advertisements on YouTube now for it. I'm like, I thought this game was huge. Like, why are you doing cartoon ads now on YouTube? Like,
Yeah.
you're really struggling that much?
Well, yeah, and even there's a guy I've actually started following when Overwatch was big called Force Gaming, and he like made a video how he said he was stopped playing Overwatch, and he was like, it's a really boring answer. He's like, but I just got bored of it, and he was like, my friends stopped playing, like
Well, that's the thing is like people
everything.
just get bored,
Yeah, and he was just like,
yeah.
I just don't want to invest in that. He's like, I'll invest in the new games that come out and that are popular to keep my channel going, but he's like, Overwatch just isn't that fun to me anymore. And I was like, that's an interesting thing of you just do kind of in the moment you are just hyped for it and you're psyched for it, but then it just dies out.
That's why Call of Duty has to release a game every year. Because
Yeah.
if that same game existed, people would get so bored.
Exactly.
And I mean, it's surprising that they're not getting bored with the same formula, but it's kind of like, and that's the thing with Fallout. It's like, from a longevity standpoint, someday the servers are going to die.
yeah,
Someday
exactly.
they're going to shut
and
down
then
the
it's done.
servers, and it's like, I can't play Fallout 76
Right.
anymore then? Like, I lose everything?
You can still play Fallout New Vegas or Fallout
Yeah,
3.
and that's the thing is like I can go back and play it, but like the reason people love Bethesda is because they keep creating these games.
Yeah.
But now like they're going into the mobile market, and I mean Fallout Shelter has had like way more players than any of their games combined, they said.
Really?
So like it's kind of scary. I'm like, yeah, but these games are trash. Like we want real like full-fledged games. Like that's why you are who you are. Like
Yeah.
you're not who you are because of this dumb mobile game.
I don't know why the mobile game industry is still so big.
I think it's just because it's free. It's just easy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was just
Then
weird.
it's something people can just sit there and.
It's like,
And I
oh,
mean,
can
I do it with
swipe and make my
Pokemon Go
thing.
at brunch. I was like taking it out and catching Pokemon, but
But
it's one of those things where it's like
It-
I
it
don't.
isn't a
That's not my.
supplement,
That's not my
though.
thing.
Yeah.
that's not
Yeah.
my main thing. Like
That's what, like, because they
Yeah.
showed advertise, and I mean, like, I do want to pick it up to try it, but like, they even made like a Shin Megami Tensei, phone game like that they're coming out with, or they have a beta for, and I'm like, that's fine, and like, if as long as you're making something Persona related or a good Shin Megami Tensei, which they are.
Well, yeah, there's
They're
that
making 5 for the
exclusive.
Switch.
They launched
supposed to
5
be.
for the Switch, yeah. So I mean that's my thing is like if you still are putting time and effort into what the gaming community wants, then that's fine. Don't sell out and cater to what's popular.
Yeah, that's why I still might give my money to Bethesda. I don't think they've completely gone off the rails yet. They understand the thing. They're just they're basically just like, we get your points, but we kind of wanted to try out the multiplayer thing.
Well, and
we figured we've already developed it for Fallout 4. So
that's what I was gonna say. Is I think in their defense, I think in their defense, they didn't supplement. Like, it wasn't like, this is a whole new thing and this is our new direction. And it wasn't like we cut ties from this. It's like, well, we literally had this made. We couldn't fit it into this thing, so we were just like, let's just pump some extra funds.
Yeah.
And
in which case, I'm like, okay, I can get behind that.
Yeah, it makes more sense versus like...
For me, it's more like, how are they going to execute it? Like, am I going to run it? And there's no NPCs in the game. It's all, the only people are other people. Which is like...
Jeez.
In my mind, like, atmospheric storytelling has been done really well. Like BioShock, at least the first one, there's very little people in that game. It's all of the story comes through atmosphere.
But imagine someone coming in and like, do you know how to get the gun for this?
But there are like robots and terminals and stuff that will give you quests and things to do. And it's kind of like, it all hinges on whether they execute it properly. Because I think if they can pull it off, it's going to be awesome. But if it just becomes this cheesy online thing where it's just like people running around shooting
VR
people,
chat, but with
like,
Fallout,
right? And that's my thing is, I don't like online games, and because you've made this point before, you have to rely so much on other people, and I think even between all of us, it's like, well, okay, it could be fun if all 3 of us play together, but that means all 3 of us have to get the game. That means all 3 of us have to have the time not doing other stuff to play it. It's like, I don't want that. It's like,
and I think the nature of our gaming is we all have different interests, like, so varyingly. So, like, I'll be into Overwatch for some reason, and you'll be like, I haven't really been playing that for a while.
Or like, Anthem's and then you'll be into it, and I'll be like, and I'm gonna be like, dude, I'm freaking stoked. And he's like, have fun.
Yeah,
it's like,
it looks fun, but I don't feel like spending $60.
Exactly.
It's kind of like none of us are ever on like the same page at the same time. So it's like, it's just too hard to coordinate online gaming.
Yeah. Anyway.
But yeah,
on that note,
was a nice little tangent.
Yeah, we can wrap up unless you... No. Yes.
I have nothing more to say.
Goodbye.
What did you want me to say something?
No, you like.
It looked like you were
I was closing down.
I
You
gave
went.
this. Yeah, I
and then you paused. And I was like,
every time I try to make a point, I do that.
And you like look, and you're like,
I just really need to say this right now. No, I'm good. I'm okay.
You can check our podcast out on iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, and YouTube.
Yeah, YouTube. Just wanted to say that.
Okay. Thanks, bud. There's been some weird thing happening with Stitcher and Google Play. I'm going to try and figure that out. I don't know why it's not uploading on that. It's just because they're not as good at platforms. I don't know. True. Apple Podcasts, no issues ever.
I would, but I don't have an iPhone because I ain't.
You got an iPad?
I don't listen to it on my iPad when I'm in the car.
So anyway, you can listen to the podcast at those places. We have a Redbubble page that has some like merch and stuff you can get. It's got some designs. I'm going to be throwing up some new designs hopefully soon. I've been saying that a couple times. I just haven't had the availability. Maybe a diabetic horse shirt.
I'd wear it.
I have
the fast dining, fast food.
Yeah, that's
what was the other one?
To the pit. Bring it to the pit.
That was one.
Oh, do it for the pod.
Do it for the pod. Yeah.
Do it for the pod.
Do it for the pod. I'd wear that.
I do. I don't know if did I upload. I don't think I uploaded the new videos with diabetic horse. I made like a really bad Illustrator horse to put as like our painting
you should
background.
Just do that for the shirt.
Yeah, I'll show you guys in a second. But yeah, and is there anything else? You can follow us on Twitter. I am at SixOneCreative. Phil is I am Phil Sorensen.
I'm at Phil Sorensen.
Phil Sorensen. Zach is C San Pellegrino, and Chris is Chris of the Vast. You can also tweet at the podcast Twitter, which is at Pop Culture Punks, and you can send questions, comments, concerns, other
rants,
tilting opinions to
the
Twitter, to our Twitter account, or popculturepunks@gmail.com. We've actually got some feedback from one of our good friends who sent in a lot of really good questions too. Shout out Marky Mark. Thanks,
Marky
bud.
Mark.
And yeah, that's the gist, friends. And with that, will bid you a fond cowabunga.
Goodbye.
Voices in my heart tell me to throw it all away, toss it in the wind and forget yesterday. But the crowd comes singing back with that same old song. You've got bills you gotta pay. What about job security? But I've been dreaming about packing it all up, 'cause the war in me just won't relent till there's nothing left but dust. So what do you do when the walls start closing in and everyone you love tells you it's all just in your head?